Good afternoon. A regular board meeting of the Board of Trustees of McAllen Independent School District will be held Monday, October 22nd, 2018, beginning at 5 p.m. in the boardroom, Administration Building of McAllen Independent School District, 2000 North 23rd Street, McAllen, Texas. At this meeting may be discussion and action by the board on the items and subjects listed below. Items listed in this agenda may be taken into order and shown in this agenda, unless removed in the consent agenda. Items identified within the consent agenda will be acted on at one time. At this time, what do we do next?
At this time,
This board will go into closed session.
This board will go into closed,
according to
where's that at?
551. Yeah, you gotta read number 2.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. At this time, the Board of Trustees will go into closed session pursuant to section 551.071, 551.072, and 551.00074 Texas Government Code to discuss the following agendas. A, human resource recommendation for the school year 2018-2019. B, human resource employee resignations, school 2018-2019. Superintendent recommendations for the termination of term contracts of employees. D, Executive Director of Technology. E, pending or potential litigations. And F, possible real estate acquisitions. At this time, at 5:02, we're going to close session.
Good job, bro. I'd like to reconvene our 5 o'clock regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of the McAllen Independent School District. Next item on today's agenda is the invocation. If everyone would please stand. We'll have the invocation by Debbie Aliceda, Trustee Aliceda, followed by the pledge to be given by Mr. Tony Farina.
Dear God, we have come together in your name to work for the good of our schools. Stay with us with your invisible presence and pour your spirit upon us. Make us your gifts in a spirit of trust and guidance and a spirit of prudence and understanding, so that the children of our district may experience an abundance of learning, compassion, and peace. Let harmony reign among us, and let us keep our eyes ever fixed on you. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you place your right hand over your heart and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you all. If everyone would please take a seat. For the record, there was no action taken in closed session. Next item on our agenda this afternoon is a public hearing for the School Finance Integrity Rating System of Texas. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. For the 15th time in 16 years, McAllen ISD has received the state's highest mark by the Texas Education Agency School Finance Integrity Rating System of Texas. That's the first. This is the 7th straight year that McAllen ISD has earned a perfect score, and Mrs. Richards will tell us more about this. This is for information purposes only. Ms. Richards.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. Tonight, I will be presenting the McAllen Independent School District 2016-2017 School Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas. The McAllen Independent School District received an A superior rating, scoring 100 points. And I would like to thank the staff for their efforts with this endeavor. Today, I will be discussing the first objectives and goals, how ratings are assessed and determined, and we'll be reviewing each first indicator. At this time, Ms. Ashley Jaime will be distributing the Annual Financial Accountability Management Report for those of you who would like a copy. The first objectives are to implement a rating system that fairly and equitably evaluates the quality of management decisions, provide an analysis tool for assessment, assess the quality of financial management, and publicly report this assessment. Financial data is reported from the following sources: the audited annual financial report, and the Public Education Information Management System, or PIMS, reports. First goals are to strengthen fiscal accountability, improve performance in the management of district finances, and facilitate effective and efficient use of resources. Ratings are assessed based upon 15 indicators. Failure to pass any of the critical indicators will result in an automatic failing grade. The critical indicators ask, was the annual financial report not filed within 1 month after the November 27th deadline? Was an unmodified opinion rendered on the financial report? And was the financial report free of any material weaknesses? Was there a default on debt payments? Was there a default on payroll-related payments? And was there a deficit in the net position balance? School district ratings are determined by first looking at the critical indicators, followed by a point system. The question asked is, did the district answer no to indicators 1, 3, 4, 5, or 2A? If so, the district rating is F for substandard achievement, regardless of the points earned. A district earning 90 to 100 points will receive an A superior rating, such as McAllen ISD. A district earning 80 to 89 points will receive a B above standard rating. A district earning 60 to 79 points will receive a C met standard rating, and a district earning less than 60 points will receive an F substandard achievement rating. Now we'll begin going over the first indicators. Indicator number 1. Was the complete annual financial report, also referred to as the AFR, and data submitted to the TEA within 30 days of the November 27th or January 28th deadline, depending on the school district's fiscal year end date of June 30th or August 31st, respectively? Yes, the district met this indicator. 2A. Was there an unmodified opinion in the AFR on the financial statements as a whole? Yes, the district met this indicator. 2B. Did the external independent auditor report that the AFR was free of any instances of material weaknesses in internal controls over financial reporting and compliance for state, local, or federal funds? Yes, the district met this indicator. 3. Was the school district in compliance with the payment terms of all debt agreements at fiscal year end? Yes, the district met this indicator. Number 4, did the school district make timely payments to the Teacher Retirement System, Texas Workforce Commission, Internal Revenue Service, and other government agencies? Yes, the district met this indicator. Number 5, was the total unrestricted net position balance in governmental activities column in the statement of net position greater than 0? Yes, the district met this indicator. Number 6, was the number of days of cash on hand and current investments in the general fund for the school district sufficient to cover operating expenditures? The school district received the maximum of 10 points. McAllen ISD's number of days of cash on hand was at 112.0205, which was sufficient to cover its operating expenditures. Number 7, was the measure of current assets to liabilities ratio for the school district sufficient to cover short-term debt? The district received the maximum of 10 points. McAllen ISD's current assets to current liabilities ratio of 3.3595 exceeded the target amount of 3.00 to cover its short-term debt. Number 8, was the ratio of long-term liabilities to total assets for the school district sufficient to support long-term solvency? The district earned the maximum of 10 points. McAllen ISD's long-term liabilities to total assets ratio of 28.14% was sufficient to support long-term solvency. Number 9, did the school district's general fund revenues equal or exceed expenditures? The district received the maximum of 10 points. McAllen ISD's expenditures did not exceed general fund revenues. Number 10, was the debt service coverage ratio sufficient to meet the required debt service? The district received the maximum of 10 points. McAllen ISD's debt service coverage ratio of 2.0301 exceeded the required debt service ratio of 1.20. Number 11, was the school district's administrative cost ratio equal to or less than the threshold ratio? The district received the maximum of 10 points. McAllen ISD's cost ratio of 6.54% was less than the threshold ratio of 8.55%. Number 12, did the school district not have a 50% decline in the student-to-staff ratio over 3 years? The district received the maximum of 10 points. McAllen ISD had a 2.47% decline in the student-to-staff ratio, which is less than the 15% threshold. Number 13, did the comparison of the Public Education Information Management System data to like information on the school district's AFR result in a total variance of less than 3% of all expenditures by function? The district received the maximum of 10 points. McAllen ISD had a 0 variance in the data reported to PEIMS as compared to the comprehensive annual financial report. Number 14, did the external independent auditor indicate the AFR was free of any instances of material noncompliance for grants, contracts, and laws related to local, state, or federal funds? The district received the maximum of 10 points. No material noncompliance was reported in the annual financial report. Number 15, did the school district not receive an adjusted repayment schedule for more than one fiscal year for an over-allocation of foundation school program funds as a result of financial hardship? The district received the maximum of 10 points. McAllen ISD did not have an adjusted repayment schedule. As per Texas Administrative Code, Chapter 109, disclosures are located in the Annual Financial Accountability Management Report, which was distributed at the beginning of this presentation. I would also like to mention that there are proposed changes to the current first indicators, and I will keep the board posted of those changes. So, Mr. Vela, at this time, you may open the floor to public comments.
Thank you, Mrs. Richards, for your presentation, and congratulations again for your accolades and your accomplishments. Any questions or comments from any member of the board?
Great job.
Mr. President, if I may.
Dr. Gonzalez.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank Mrs. Richards and the entire business department. Phenomenal job once again. We've established a legacy of financial integrity, so that's very important to us. And also thank you to our Board of Trustees to holding us to a high standard in the finance area.
Well done. Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. Thank you all. Moving on to item number 7 on today's agenda is the superintendent's.
Public comments.
Well, I was going to wait. How long is yours? 3 minutes?
Probably closer to 5.
Mr. Crane.
Public comment about the financial report.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Yes.
That's correct. Thank you, thank you, Mr. Crane. If anyone has any public comments, questions on the report that Ms. Richard just gave on our first accountability rating, please step forward to the podium to be heard. That's why I moved on, Steve. Thank you all. Item number 7 on today's agenda is Superintendent's Report. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. In partnership with the McAllen Chamber of Commerce and South Texas College, McAllen ISD has launched a youth apprenticeship program. More than 50 high school students in career technical education courses went through job interviews with several businesses, and our students will be getting real-world training and experience. On behalf of our district and our Board of Trustees, I do want to extend a heartfelt thank you to the Chamber of Commerce and also to South Texas College for their continued support, and especially for this partnership that we have with this apprenticeship program. I'd also like to thank all the business partners that partnered up with us, our business partners leading the charge in our youth apprenticeship program, our Atlas Electrical, Air Conditioning, Refrigeration, and Plumbing Services Incorporated, Salt, New American Table, House Wine and Bistro, Santa Fe Steakhouse, Bogus Ford, Clark Chevrolet, The Monitor, and Doubletree Suites by Hilton Hotels. All of these businesses have partnered with us to give students wonderful opportunities, so we look forward to more businesses coming so that more students can benefit from these apprenticeship programs. And at this point, we'd like to share a short video with you all.
And the fact of the matter is, at one point in our lives, we were sitting where you're sitting, with the same dreams that you have, with the same curiosities, with the same wonders, what it was going to be to go into adulthood, what it was going to be to go out into the real world and make a difference.
So today we have about 56 students that are participants and students in career technical education that are going to be part of a youth apprenticeship program that is a registered youth apprenticeship program from the U.S. Department of Labor, and it is in collaboration with the McAllen Chamber of Commerce and also STC. So what these students are doing is right now they're interviewing with local businesses to see if they get one of these coveted positions.
It's a lot of, confidence in yourself and knowing what you want to do in life is a big step, especially with these big companies coming into, McAllen ISD, showing that, they want to work with students. It's a great opportunity for most of us. I jumped on it right away. It was a no-brainer for me.
The business I chose was hospitality because I like to be social, meet new people and greet them and make their day. So I thought hospitality was a good choice because later on in life I would want to open up a business with my sister.
I came in pretty prepared. I felt like I did pretty good. I put myself out there. I presented myself to the best of my ability, and I really like the feedback that they gave me, and it's just a pretty good experience.
I'm excited for the kids. It's giving them opportunities to really have an idea of the different businesses that are going on, and it creates a clear pathway for them and gives them different choices, different opportunities, and opens doors for them, and that's what we're here for. We're in the dream business, and this definitely gives a perspective to students, and that's what we're excited about.
But once again, to the Chamber, to South Texas College, to all the business owners, thank you so much, and to all the students, we love you guys and we wish you the best of luck. Thank you.
Whoa. We are very excited about the Youth Apprenticeship Program, and there will be a signing ceremony for those students selected on Wednesday, October 31st. So, thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. Any comments or questions for Dr. Gonzalez on today's report?
No, sir.
Thank you all. Excellent. Before we move on to item number 8, I'd like to recess our 5 o'clock regular meeting of the board and open a special meeting of the board, the 6:15 special meeting of the Board of Trustees of the McAllen Independent School District, being held today, Monday, October 22nd, 2018, in the boardroom of the Administration Building located at 2000 North 23rd Street. At this meeting, there may be discussion and action by the board on the items and subjects listed as follows. Public comments. We have before us a list of the speakers for this afternoon's public comment portion. We have a list of 7. If Mr. Trevino would keep time for us, we have a 5-minute time limit for each one. And I need to read something before we get into public comments. The board shall welcome delegations or individuals who wish to meet with the board. Audience participation at a board meeting is limited to the public comment portion of the meeting designated for that purpose. At all other times during a board meeting, the audience shall not enter into discussion or debate on matters being considered by the board unless requested by the presiding officer. No presentation shall exceed 5 minutes. However, time limitations shall not preclude the board from requesting specific reports from anyone attending the board meeting and having information desired by the board pertaining to a specific topic under discussion. Delegations of more than 5 persons shall appoint 1 person to present their views before the board. Should the speaker drift from the stated subject or become disruptive or abusive, he or she shall be given 1 warning. If a second warning is required, then the speaker shall forfeit the remaining time allotment. This afternoon, like I said, we have 7 members. First on today's public comment list is Mrs. Barbara Kelly. Mrs. Kelly, if you'll step forward to the podium. It is 6:53 and the public comment meeting is adjourned. And at 6:53, we will reconvene in our 5 o'clock regular meeting of the board. The next item on this evening's agenda would be recognitions and proclamations. And I'll turn it over to Dr. Gonzalez for item number 8A.
Yes, sir. The National Merit Scholarship Program is an academic competition for recognition of top PSAT scores. In February, 15,000 finalists are named, which is the top 1% of the nation's juniors, and these students are eligible for scholarships from many colleges and universities. Tonight, Mrs. Bridget V. will introduce our National Merit semifinalists.
Good evening. Our first National Merit Scholar semifinalist, Alejandro Miguel Escobedo from Rowe High School, IB Rowe High School. Zachary Scott Moore, Memorial High School. Jose Luis Gomez, Memorial High School. Emily Ann Gerwitz, McAllen High School. Vincent Clifford Tavares, McAllen High School. Director of Advanced Academics, Ms. Karen Nitsch.
Item 8B, the National Hispanic Recognition Program identifies outstanding Hispanic high school students. And the organization identified 5,000 of the highest scoring Hispanics from a nationwide total of 250,000. That's the top 2%. Students' names are distributed to colleges and universities, and students are eligible for scholarships. Mrs. V will introduce 22 McAllen Independent School District students earning this distinguished honor.
And we welcome Ms. Lauren Nicole Rodriguez from McAllen High School. Mr. Stanley Audrey Davis from Memorial High School. Kathia Lena Nitsch from IB Memorial High School. James Thomas Eddy, Memorial High School. Zane Alexander Maubrey, Rowe High School. Jose Javier Arjona, Achieve Early High School. Jose Miguel Zamora Jr. from Achieve High School. Esmeralda Morales Lopez from Achieve High School. Jose Luis Gomez, Memorial High School. Ms. Karen Nitsch, Advanced Academics Director, and Ms. Susan Garcia, Advanced Academics.
the next one is the Red Ribbon Week. Yes. Item 8C, approval of proclamation regarding Red Ribbon Week, October 22nd through 26th, 2018. Tonight, we bring a proclamation recognizing Red Ribbon Week as October 22nd through 26th, 2018. Mrs. Bridget V. will introduce nurses and students, and our board secretary, Mr. Sam Salivar Jr., will then read the proclamation.
We welcome Mr. Abner Rodriguez, music teacher, Seguin Elementary. Daniel Lomas. Leo Rodriguez. Fabiola Gonzalez. Mia Reina. Sofia Rodriguez. Norma Trevino, counselor from Seguin Elementary. Elizabeth Trevino, counselor from Seguin Elementary. Mirna Gonzalez, nurse from Seguin Elementary. And Director of Health Services, Adalia Del Bosque.
He feels very strongly about Red Ribbon Week. Very strong. Proclamation. State of Texas, County of Hidalgo, McAllen Independent School District. Whereas the National Red Ribbon Campaign offers citizens the opportunity to demonstrate their commitment to drug-free lifestyles, which includes no use of illegal drugs or abuse of legal substances. And whereas youth and adults will demonstrate their commitment to health, drug-free lifestyles by wearing and displaying the red ribbons during this campaign. Whereas the community of McAllen Independent School District further commits its resources to ensure the success of the Red Ribbon Campaign. Now therefore, I, Sam Saldívar Jr., member of the Board of Trustees, do hereby proclaim the week of October 22nd to 26th, 2018 as Red Ribbon Week. We call upon all residents to join the dedicated individuals to promote safe and drug-free activities that support the health and well-being of our children in hopes of achieving a healthier, drug-free future for all of our children in our community. In hereof thereof, we set our hand and seal for the McAllen Independent School District to be affixed on this 22nd day of October 2018, and it's signed by myself, yours truly, Sam Saldívar Jr., Board Secretary, and it's attested by our Board President, Daniel D. Vela. Thank you, all of you, for representing our community here tonight, because we know this is happening on each and every campus, and that you're working in collaboration with all children and staff and teachers and parents to promote this and to bring attention to this serious problem that some may have in hopes that they have a better, healthier, and well-being lifestyle going into the future. And thank you for your efforts. We really appreciate it. Thank you all very much.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Great job.
All right, good to see you.
Thanks so much. Good job.
Bye, Mr.
Item 8D, approval of proclamation regarding National School Bus Safety Week, October 22nd through 26th, 2018. This week of October 22nd through 26th, 2018 is recognized nationally as National Bus Safety Week, and McAllen ISD school district drivers logged over 950,000 miles during the 2017-2018 school year. Ms. Bridget V. will introduce bus drivers, and Trustee Larry Esparza will then read the proclamation.
We welcome bus driver Randy Evie. Transportation clerk Ms. Lidia Peña. Transportation bookkeeper Aaron Gonzalez. Another bus aide is Leticia Ocañas. Rosa Quintanilla, another bus aide. Josie Cuellar, bus driver. Rosa Saucera, bus driver. Sonia Villegas, bus aide. Hector Gonzalez, supervisor, Transportation Department, and our Director for Transportation, Mr. Jacob Martinez.
You guys are gonna come down and be the stars of the show now. Important people don't need to do that. Are you ready?
Good evening. Thank you all for being here. You know, you do a very important job in this district, taking care of our kids and bringing them, making sure they get to school in the morning, make sure they get home in the afternoons, taking them on field trips and so forth. And it's a big responsibility, getting in a bus with screaming kids and yelling kids. It's a lot of work. You know, as a kid, I never rode the bus. I had the proverbial, I walked 3 miles to school and back. But I had brothers and sisters to keep an eye on me. And so, but, you know, there are a lot of kids that are transported daily in our school district, and we thank you for everything you do. And I have a proclamation that I'd like to read on behalf of the school district and the school board. State of Texas, County of Hidalgo, McAllen Independent School District. Whereas approximately 480,000 yellow school buses carry 25 million children to and from school every weekday, these buses comprise the largest mass transportation fleet in the country. And whereas school buses meet higher construction, equipment, and inspection standards than any other vehicle, making them 8 times safer than traveling in a passenger vehicle, and school bus drivers meet higher qualification training and testing standards than any other drivers. And whereas School Bus Safety Week, which is sponsored by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, was created in 1966 to remind all students of the best ways to get on and off the bus, and also recognizes the hard work and dedication of the school transportation personnel. And whereas McAllen ISD bus drivers logged approximately 950,000 miles last year, enough to circle the earth more than 35 times. Now, therefore, I, Larry Esparza, member of the Board of Trustees of McAllen Independent School District, do hereby proclaim the week of October 22nd through 26th National School Bus Safety Week. I call upon all residents to join the dedicated individuals who administer the National School Bus Program in appropriate activities that support the safe transportation and well-being of our children. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the McAllen ISD School District to be affixed on this, the 22nd day of October 2018. And it's signed by myself, attested to by Sam Salivar, Board Secretary. Again, thank you for everything you do for our children. Thank you for getting them to school in the mornings and getting them home safely in the afternoons, whether it's right after school or after football practice or after a football game, a band program, a field trip. Everything that you do for our children. We thank you.
Gentlemen in purple, you can move out this way just a little. There you
Can you tell me where's the back tire?
Thank you, guys.
Y'all be safe out there.
Thank you all. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to approve the proclamation. So is there a motion from the board?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of the item signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
6-0, Mr. Alvarado stepped out.
I count him anyway.
I'm glad somebody does.
Next item, item number 9, board members, board committees, and district reports. 9A, board committee reports, instructional services briefing, chair, Mr. Sam Saldivar.
Thank you, Mr. President. On Friday, October the 12th, Trustee Alvarado and I met with Dr. Ibarra to discuss some of the items on the agenda. It included the proclamations, which was items 8A and B, the report, which is 9.2, which we're going to be discussing shortly. And also on the consent agenda, there's 2 items under 11A and B that were discussed. And then we had quite a lengthy discussion as well under 12A1, which is the district-wide messaging system. So that's our report. Thank you for the time and attention.
Thank you, Trustee Saldivar. Item 9A2, human resource briefing. Our chair is Trustee Debbie Aliceda.
Yes, we met with Mr. Miller, and the items we'll be discussing on the agenda tonight are under item number 10, page 181 of the agenda.
Thank you, Trustee. And item 9A3, district operations briefing. Our chair is Trustee Marco Suarez.
Thank you, Mr. President. There's 6 items that we discussed, which have already been, we already spoke about them. We will have a report regarding the facilities, the approval of the final payment for Brown Middle School, and the approval of a monetary donation to Pablo Perez Elementary, and the approval of the resolution of the Board of Trustees for the McAllen Independent School District identifying hazard traffic conditions for school year 2018-2019.
Thank you, Trustee Suarez. 9A4, business operations briefing. Our chair is Trustee Larry Esparza.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Farina and myself had the opportunity to visit with Mrs. Richards. On Friday, there's 5 items before the board. One of them was the public hearing regarding the school financial integrity, which was earlier this evening. There'll be a report regarding the monthly financial investments and taxes collected for September 2018, and then there's 2 items up for approval this evening, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Esparza. Next item is 9B, district reports. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. Our assessment department provides training and support to all campuses on state testing administration and procedures, and Dr. Ibarra will share more information. This item is for information purposes only. Dr.
Thank you.
Ibarra.
Yes, good evening, board members. This evening I have a brief report regarding the assessment department. I would like to preface it with some background information on the accountability system in Texas. The Texas Education Agency uses the accountability system of STAR and end of course, as well as college, career, and military measures to evaluate the academic performance of Texas public schools and school districts. Each campus is rated based on aggregate results of the students in their campuses, and the district is rated based on the overall results of all the campuses. The importance of the successful administration of the STAR assessment is critical to the success of the district. The assessment department is charged with training campuses on proper test security and confidentiality protocols, as well as providing guidance and support to campuses before, during, and after the test administration, and any assessment-related issues and concerns that may come up. This presentation centers on Goal 1 of our strategic plan, student achievement, student focus. So I'd like to first begin with just a brief overview of the Texas Student Assessment Program. There are 2 tests that comprise the assessment program. That is the State of Texas Assessment of Academic Readiness, the STAR, and the STAR Alternate 2, and the Texas English Language Proficiency Assessment System, or the TELPAS, and the TELPAS Alternate. So the assessments were created to fulfill both the state accountability requirements and federal accountability requirements. The STAR is designed to measure the extent to which a student has learned and is able to apply the defined knowledge and skills, what we call the TEKS, at each tested grade level. Every STAR question is directly aligned to the TEKS currently in effect for the grade or subject or course being assigned. The TELPAS is designed to measure the extent to which a student has developed English language proficiency. These are the tested grades for the STAR. Math is tested at 3rd through 8th grade, reading 3rd through 8th grade, writing 4th and 7th, science 5th and 8th, social studies at the 8th grade level, and then we have the end of course assessments at Algebra 1, English 2, Biology, and U.S. History. In addition, the state also administers Spanish assessments in 3rd through 5th grade math, 3rd through 5th grade reading, 4th grade writing, and 5th grade science. All of these assessments are available both on paper and online with and without embedded supports.
Can I stop you real quickly?
Yes, sir.
On those grade level assessments, if a student doesn't pass any one of those tests, but they pass all their coursework, are they
Only
retained in that grade level?
Only in certain grade levels. For instance, in 5th grade, in 8th grade, that is a requirement that they must, well, it's the grade placement committee, they will make the determination.
But it's only in what grades?
At the elementary level, it's in 5th grade, at the middle school level is in 8th grade, and then at the high school level, it's in the end of course.
But there's a committee that reviews?
Yes, sir.
And if they make recommendations, they send them to
That's
summer
right,
school so that they
yes,
can?
and the parent is part of that committee. That is correct, the grade placement committee. Okay, moving on, the STAR Alternate 2 is an assessment based on alternate academic achievement standards and is designed for students with the most significant cognitive disability that meet eligibility requirements. STAR Alternate 2 is a paper-based assessment administered for all of the same subjects and grade levels with the exception of Spanish. So this is only there's only an English version. The TELPAS is a proficiency assessment that measures the English language proficiency of English learners in kinder through 12th grade in 4 language domains, and those are listening, speaking, reading, and writing. The assessment components for kinder through 1st and 2 to 12 include the following. In kinder and 1st, the students are rated holistically by the teacher, so there is no assessment that is actually completed by the student. This is a holistic rating observation protocol that is conducted by the teacher. However, in grades 2nd through 12, there is a multiple choice online reading test in 6th grade clusters, and you have there the clusters before you. 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th through 5th, 6th through 7th, 8th through 9th, and 10th through 12. In addition, there is an online listening and speaking test in 4 grade clusters, and then all the students in 2nd through 12 are rated holistically on a collection of writing samples, and again, the different ratings are beginner, intermediate, advanced, and advanced high. And just like we have the STAR Alternate, we also have the TELPAS Alternate, and once again, this is the test that's designed for students with the most significant cognitive disabilities who cannot participate in the general TELPAS assessment, even with allowable accommodations in grades 2nd through 12. And basically, it's the same for language domains, listening, speaking, reading, and writing.
Dr. Barr, can I ask you a quick?
Yes, sir.
On that grade 2 to 12, if you're a 2nd grader or say a 3rd grader, do you have to do the online reading test, online listening, speaking tests, and do the
For the
writing
TELPAS?
collection?
Yes, yes.
So you do all 3 of them, it's not one or the other?
On the listening and speaking is in 4 grade clusters, and the online reading test, again, is in all grade, yes, basically.
So if you were a 3rd grader, you do the online reading plus the speaking?
Yes,
you do both?
that's correct. The only one that is holistically rated is the writing collection. So the purpose of the assessments is to assess, once again, the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills on the STAR and the English language proficiency on the TELPAS, and of course to provide information to teachers as to what areas need to be addressed, to provide feedback to students, teachers, and parents of the learning process. There is a very good tool that is available to parents that explains the STAR assessment, that it's very thorough. It walks the parents so they can understand how the students are rated and so forth. So that is available to all parents. Obviously, to hold the campuses and district accountable for student learning at the end of the grade or course in the year. And then also each campus is required to conduct a needs assessment at the end of the year and also to use the results of the test to update their campus improvement plan. So this information, the STAR results serve to guide instructional decisions and refine teaching practices to best meet the needs of students. So the main goals of the Student Assessment Department, of course, is to maintain the security and confidentiality of the Texas Student Assessment Program, in essence, the integrity of the test, by providing proper test security and confidentiality training. The Assessment Department provides ample opportunities to train the campuses in small settings so that they have plenty of opportunity to respond to questions, to train our campus testing coordinators and our principals. And the reason, of course, more importantly, to ensure that we have valid test scores, to minimize testing irregularities, and again, to ensure that we have an assessment program that is secure and confidential. Now, also very important is that we want to make sure that we are providing standard and equal testing opportunities for all students by providing a secure and positive testing environment. So it doesn't matter where the student is testing, what classroom, basically the practices are standard because we follow the protocol set in place by the Texas Education Agency. Our assessment department personnel work very closely with principals and campus testing coordinators before, during, and after the test. They have direct communication with principals and campus testing coordinators, and they are readily available to answer questions relating to specific test administrations. They visit the campuses before, during, and after test administration to ensure that procedures are being followed. They monitor that personnel are adhering to proper assessment procedures. And most importantly, they assist with resolving issues by acting as a liaison between campuses and TEA. Anytime there's a concern or an irregularity, the assessment department quickly informs myself and Ms. V. And of course, they take the necessary measures and follow the necessary protocols to inform TEA on what steps they need to be taken. Now, in addition to the state assessment, they also have the credit by exam. They're in charge of the credit by exam for the district. There are 2 credit by exams. One is credit by exam with prior instruction, and the other one is a credit by exam with no prior instruction. The credit by exam with prior instruction is for students that are coming from a non-public school, out-of-state school, even a foreign country, and these are students who want to validate their credits, and so that is considered a test with prior instruction, and that can be administered any time during the year. The credit by exam with no prior instruction, we are required or mandated by the state to offer 4 testing windows, and we do. And so students who wish to demonstrate proficiency in a grade level or course in which they have not previously been enrolled may take these exams for acceleration, with the exception of tests that are end-of-course tests. And then here's the organizational chart for the Student Assessment Department. I do want to say, this concludes the presentation, but I do want to say that in addition to these responsibilities, they work very, very closely with Ms. V on progress value-added measures that, again, support the campuses throughout the year in preparation for the test. And Ms. V is more than welcome to elaborate on that. But the ladies at the helm, we have Dr. Noel, who's the Director of Student Assessment. We have Kyle Pugh, Assessment Coordinator, Thelma Rosell, Assessment Coordinator, and the 2 secretaries in the department are Josie Garza and Mary Lou Jaime. And I just want to tell them that we value their work. We commend them for their work. Again, the customer service that they provide to the campus is invaluable, and we appreciate all their hard work. And they're here in the back, 2 of the ladies, and I'd like them to come forward. And Mr. Pugh is also here, and we'll be happy to answer any questions specific to the assessment department or assessment program.
Thank you, Dr. Ibarra. Are there any questions or comments from the board, or would Dr. Noel or anyone like to add any comments to Dr. Ibarra's presentation? We'd be glad to.
Well, we truly enjoy working with all the campuses and acting as a liaison for TEA, and they already know us by name because we make many phone calls, because we just want to make sure that we clarify and that we're giving the campus testing coordinators the correct information. So we're readily available to assist, and we receive hundreds of phone calls. We can't even keep track, but we want to help everybody in every step of the process before, during, and after.
Well, we certainly appreciate your dedication and the experience that you bring forth to the district. Thank you very much. Trustee Aliceda.
I just have two questions. If a student in the 11th grade doesn't pass the EOC, are they considered an 11th grader or are they considered a 12th grader?
Well, when they need to pass the course requirements, however, they also need to pass the EOC, but they're giving other opportunities to pass.
In answer to your question, Trustee Aliceta, the EOC is independent of the grade level classification. The credits are, the EOCs are different than the credits. They are two different things. While they must have both to graduate, they're considered two different.
And is the EOC, if you have accommodations for the STAR, or do you have those same accommodations on the campus level when you take an EOC?
That is determined by the appropriate committee.
Right.
It could be the ART or the LPAC.
The RTI 504 or the
But
ART.
it's an assessment, I mean, it's a state assessment, it's a
Yes.
mandated state assessment. So are we mandated to give the same accommodations on, even though it's a different test, are we mandated to follow the exact same accommodations?
Well, we follow all the rules of the testing if they qualify, or if they're eligible for either accessibility features, designated supports, or designated supports with TA approval, then the committee on the campuses will approve that and their eligibility on the campus. The committee does.
So if you're allowed, like, if someone reads the test to you, taking
Yes.
a STAR, they will read the test to you, taking the EOC?
Yes, if they're eligible
Yes.
for that accommodation, yes, ma'am.
Just a quick question, it's a little bit, and this is great information, thank you for all that you do. I was asked a question recently, and I'm not sure I answered it correctly. If a student falls behind, and it kind of leads into this, assessments, falls behind in credits, assessments, or what have you, we open our high schools in the summertime for recovery,
Yes, sir.
correct, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And then it's at their own pace too, they come in and work with our staff and what have you, right?
Yes, sir,
Okay.
that's correct.
So if a parent wants information on that, they can just contact their high school that they're at and get the information, okay? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
To follow up on that point, I think we identify those kids and we go after them
Absolutely.
in every case. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir, yes.
I mean, it's a year round, but someone said, well, I think y'all stopped in the summer, so no, we continue through the
Yeah.
summer.
Right.
Very, very aggressively, in my,
Yes.
to your point.
Yes, and as a matter of fact, that's one of the reasons why we have summer school at each of the high schools to encourage more students to participate and take advantage of the Creator Recovery Program.
Is there a
And
cost
assessment.
associated with that?
No.
No.
It's free.
Wow.
Thank you, Trustee. Trustee Esparza.
Regarding the online testing of students, how is that done? Do we set up computers, laptops in the cafeteria or something for the kids to go in, those that requested it, or is it?
Yes, we allow the campus coordinators to request the classrooms. They turn in the number of classrooms and the number of computers. So we work with the technology department, and they go in and update the apps, whether for STAR or for the TestNav, which is for TELPUS. And they update all the applications on there through the technology department does. So they let us know how many classrooms that they need
So
and how many
it's-
classrooms.
That's student choice, though. The student decides whether he wants to do it online or by paper?
Well, the teachers also make that determination. The teachers do. What would be best in the best interest of the child? Would it be a paper exam or an online exam?
And I know, I think it was last year, TA reported there was a lot of glitches with that. Do we have issues with that here?
Unfortunately, yes, we do have.
But that was not was it a district problem, or was it a statewide problem with the TEA website, or what was it?
Statewide. Yeah, it was statewide.
So it was an issue with TEA?
Yes, and they would contact us and let us know. They would send us emails. In addition, we would call the ETS system to ask questions when that was happening. And they give us criteria. If a child is waiting more than 15 minutes, have them to stop, have them take a break, and to see if they could get it back online.
As far as we know, have they corrected the situation, or so we don't?
Well, this next year, they're allowing us to have a 2-week window so that we can accommodate all those students to test online.
So if it happens one day, you can try it again the next day? Is that what you're saying, or what?
Exactly, exactly. Some students will need to try again the next day, unfortunately, so that they can get on.
Okay.
And also the number of students at some campuses have more students, obviously, so they need, the window has been expanded to make sure that we account for all students and give them enough time.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you, Dr. Ibarra. Thank you, Dr. Noel. Thank you, Ms. Rosell, and thank you, Mr. Pugh. We appreciate your presentation and information this evening. Thank you all. Next item this evening is item number 9B2, report regarding, Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. This is a report regarding college admission continuation, Part 2. McAllen ISD continues to research how the district will be providing support for students who choose to apply for rolling or early college admissions in July. And Mrs. V will present 3 enhanced high school systems of support regarding this. And this item is for information purposes only. Ms. V?
Yes, and I want to begin, Dr. Gonzalez, by thanking our parents as well for their input, thanking Barbara Kelly, Mr. Slusher, Gina Millen, who came to see us and then also made her time here for us, and also our senior, Catherine Slusher. The comments and everything that they've given us have been taken very seriously into heart as we try to continue to be competitive and improve our systems. So, good evening, President Villa, Vice President Suarez, Secretary Salivad, trustees, and Superintendent Gonzalez. Research has, and you have a hard copy with you, there you go. Research has continued since our last meeting regarding enhanced systems of support for every student to participate in admission, rolling admission, early admission preparations by July. The 2 additional systems that are proposed to begin for this year. Number 1, a new release of the end of the 11th grade 6th semester official GPA rank in class release number 1 and 2 in July, with a second end of 11th grade release 2 of 2 in September. Additional systems will be new targets and procedures for our high schools and central administration to develop collaboratively decreasing of 2nd and 3rd year student retention, which will, if successful, increase class size ranking and increase graduation rates. 4th year behind students, cohort students will continue to be a focus due to the graduation accountability, which our district, as I know you all know, produced a 94.5 district graduation rate with a 0.7 annual dropout. So we continue to be held very accountable for that. So we continue with our research, and you have a hard copy of this. You were also given it on Friday. It was that 3-year analysis that I showed you 2 weeks ago, but we went ahead and researched. I had only had data from Mac High, and then I went ahead and researched at Memorial and at Rowe. Could we switch to the next chart, please? So in that, just to break down this new analysis, if you can see the green column on the left, where it says Mac High 579, Memorial 490, and Rowe 491. That was the midterm 11th. That was the midterm 11th grade 5th semester rank. So if you see that 579 that students received, by the end of the school year, 10 students had withdrawn, and so that was 569. If you see the 18 after that, that is students who graduated. They're in their 4th year, but in that 579 release, that anyone that has an 11th grade classification is included in that. So something that we've observed that will definitely change this year when we do the midterm 11th grade 5 semester rank, we will have a disclaimer on the denominator to give more information on that, to unmask it better, so that there would not be a misunderstanding that that constituted only the cohort 11th grade. So by May 31st, 18 students graduated, which made that denominator be 551. Then what happens is at 531, there's 69 students in that 551 denominator that are retained because they have not earned the 20 credits. And then if you see I went ahead, and this is the enhancement that we're doing with the high schools. I had them unmask those 69 students that were retained. Where were they? How far were they behind? And so if you can see the 27, 16, and 22, that's what we call the bubble retained juniors, because they're missing a half a credit or 1 credit. So they're very easy to regain. But in the current practice that we've had, that has not been the typical student that you bring in the summertime. because I would be facing a parent, the high school would be facing a parent saying, I need you to come back to school with us in June, please, because we need to earn that half a credit that you missed. And the parents possibly had other plans. Well, can't you do this in the fall of their senior year? Which we can, but this enhanced practice that we will do this year is, of course, in the fall right now of the junior's year, try and regain any of those credits that we can. And then in the spring, work with that as it goes, and so that we don't have this bubble like we do. If you see the green column, 512, 466, 425, that is the end of the 11th grade 6th semester rank that was released. And so you see the comparisons that have been given, and I even heard Ms. Millen bring up, if you saw Mac High's 512 compared to the 551, she says that, and she's correct, that would have been a plus 39 in the denominator, because that would have included those 69 retained juniors in that denominator. However, if you see Memorial, it's 462, and you leave that in, and then you go to the 466 that released, that would have caused a -4. It would have gone the other way. Do y'all see that? The 462, the 480 minus the 18 that graduated, so that would be 462. So if we left what is proposed by the parents to leave the 64 retained at Memorial, then that will cause a 462 denominator, which in this case would have been 4 less students. And then at Rowe, it goes the other way. Just like they said, it's a plus 42 students.
Do you know how many times it goes not for the student in the case of Memorial?
How many times it?
This is one year looked at. Were you able to look at any other years to see?
In that prior slide, I was able to, I didn't unmask this way, like from the 531 to I didn't do that for the 2 prior years. But the current practice, just like the parents have explained, our denominator at May 31 always subtracts the retained juniors from that.
Right.
So if we do choose to propose, release 2 releases of end of 11th grade to help the kids get something by July, with the current practice, that release would be, do you see the yellow column in between?
Yeah, that would be the 480.
It would be the 482.
Right.
It would be the 398 at Memorial, and it would be the 376. That would be the first release.
Right.
Then
even at the end of May, you still have to take out the students that graduated.
Yes.
Okay. And that's what I'm asking. Memorial's at 398, right? So.
Yes.
So you were saying that if we were to go at the end of May, it would hurt,
In this particular instance, the 480 who was enrolled May 31st at Memorial, minus 18 fourth-year students that graduated equals 462. What they released at the September 10th rank was 466. So it would be one of those where it's less.
Right. And I guess that's my question. How many times does it go that way?
I don't have the data. I only studied this current from May 31st to September 10th.
Okay.
And so what I want to draw our attention to is the last 3 columns to the right, the 30, the last 3 columns. So if you see 78 at Mac High, that is right now at the end of the first 6 weeks. These students are in their 4th year of high school, and they do not have 20 credits. So because of who's come new to the school, new kids come, and we take them in, there's 78 right now, so that has always been the closest to graduation. That's our practice. We're trying to get those kids caught up in a very aggressive way, like in class, after school, Saturdays. And so the goal is either May 31st, and if we don't quite make it by May 31st, we get it at that August 31st, because TEA's academic year for accountability is always a fall, spring, and summer. If you see the 3rd year, the second column to the last, 98 at Mac High. Right now at Mac High, there's 98 third-year students that do not have 20 credits, 98. And then at Memorial, 75, and at Row, 80. That is our new enhanced system. This has awakened to us that while we were always, there is systems in place that are taking care of fourth year, third year, second year, trying to regain, but always the big focus has been the fourth year, because you see what we're facing. However, this is a new expectation of the high schools, together with us at Central. We don't take these charges only on campus, just like you saw us address annual dropout. When annual dropout went from the 2.5 to where it is now 0.7, that is a combined effort with central office working together with high school campus. It can't be the expectation for them to do all of that by themselves, and nor is this. So our new system right now, and the high schools will be presenting to Dr. Gonzalez and the ELT this Wednesday, their executive campus improvement plan summary, and their task is tell us in 20 minutes, and we'll talk for 20 minutes, question and answer, what are the things that you will do different this year? So always, it's twofold at a high school. It's having to do with what are the new things in place to address more students passing STAR? What are the new things in place to get that graduation rate better? So this is one of those very new and very awakened, thanks to the parents to have us research this, that our third year end in mind goal is May 31st this year, May 31st for the third year, that we would not have those retained students. So that denominator that we see decrease doesn't decrease because they have 20 credits with the current practice. We can go to the next one. So these are the systems in place, how we regain credit.
If to me, all what we're doing is incredible to help the students with, that fall behind the credits. It's commendable what we do, and I don't think there's an issue with that. I know the issue, for me, and I really didn't say too much last time, but Ms. Lusher spoke about it. Same thing happened to my daughter. She, the end of May at Rowe, let's say we used the number was 489. She was top 10. And when she applied, I thought, okay, you're going to get into early admissions, that's great. And she didn't, because we used, our current, and that number dropped dramatically. And I remember, I actually, and I feel bad about this, but I made her cry, and we talked about it because I visited her at A&M this past weekend. And I said, you remember, I got after you. I said, what happened? You're not doing, you have senioritis, the whole thing. Turned out her grades improved, but the number of kids actually dropped. So the reason why the parents are coming here and why it's so important is she got in eventually, and she had to take her SAT again, get score higher and all that. By the time we got in, though, she was on a waiting list for dorms. She got the last of the, towards the end of when you register for classes, and those are big things to parents. Yes. And we're looking at just Region 1, but everyone that I met when she had a choir concert, they're from all over the state and country. They're not just from Region 1. I met one gentleman from Edinburgh, and we talked and what have you, but it's from all over. If she would have gotten admitted under the top 10, she probably would have got the dorm. We kind of joke about it there. There's one dorm that everybody wants, and it was right in the middle. I would have been a little better about safety and all that. So that's where all this is coming from. It doesn't hurt anything, and I will tell you, most of the parents could care less what her ranking is in the year. They just want to get in and then start planning for college. So that's what this is about. So I guess the question, I say all that is, and I agree with the comments that were made, it doesn't hurt if we stop it in the May because the number's higher. And here's the thing, I don't think this is your issue. It really shouldn't, kind of put it on you. The state needs to do something about this to make it fair for everybody. They're putting it on us. It should be their issue. And I want to go talk to, state reps and put it back on them. Because if we're doing things that are right, but yet other school districts are using this to get their students in, then something needs to be done. But until they fix it, let's let our students get in, more students get in their top 10, get registered early, get their dorms, get all those things, because that's what parents care about. At the end, I don't even know what she graduated with, what her ranking was. I have no idea. I didn't care. It was now on to the next step. So I think that's what this is about. Not that we're doing anything negative or bad, we're all, all this is great because I know McAllen does, I was gonna say a hell of a job, but I shouldn't say that word, right? A heck of a job, with credit recovery. I know, I said it.
It got
So-
bleeped, you're okay.
I know. But, Ms. V, what we do to help our students get there is second to none. But that's just the argument, and I guess, Dr. Gonzalez, it's a tough decision. I know you've been wanting to do what's fair and what's right, but I think in this case, it's an issue that needs to be addressed by the state. Unfortunately, we're in this situation right now. So anyway, that's all I want to say. Thank you for everything that you're doing. And Ms. Lusher is here in the audience still. I feel for you because I hope your dad didn't get mad at you and say, what happened? You dropped, right? No, he understood.
Her grades went up.
Oh, yeah, just like my daughter, right? And you're kind of the same situation. But I will tell you this. Our kids are prepared to compete with anybody. Anybody, any school, no matter what. We have teachers that care, administration, principals. So, I know when I was talking to my daughter and her roommate who graduated from McAllen, they're competing. And it's not just them, it's everybody else. So we're doing a fantastic job. So don't let that distract whatever happened today. That's not the sentiment, Dr. Gonzalez. We're doing great things here. This is just trying to get us, our kids, the same opportunity as the Woodlands and all the other school districts that are doing it this way.
And Ito, it's just the yellow, just class at the end. I mean, it's the yellow, well, maybe you're not looking at it. But
Yeah, I see it, the 49, 40.
Class at the end of 11th grade, that's all we're asking.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, all this other stuff, I don't understand.
Yeah.
Trustee Suarez.
I'll echo some of the comments that Mr. Alvarado said, but I have a couple of questions. And at the end of the day, I think there's a consensus here that we don't ever want to hurt a student, and that's not what we're trying to do. Part of the concerns, in speaking with different parents, and in the conversation that we were talking about, was that we give our class rank, the junior rank, much later than other school districts. And I think that we're going to resolve that issue already. So if the rank, however the superintendent decides to move forward with this, will be competitive with surrounding districts and other people in the state, that if your child is in the top 6% and they get their ranking in July or in June, that they'll be able to compete and have room for a dorm and so forth. So we've gotten that hurdle out of the way. The next hurdle is, how do we determine? Do we continue to do what we're doing, or do we look at how other districts, if there's other districts in the state, and I'll ask that question in a little bit, did they find a gray area and did they run with it? A lawyer's going to tell you that there's some gray area, and let's go with it because there's nothing to say we can't. The educator in the education field is going to say that's not normal practice, and how are we going to be looked upon? But before getting to that, I have a question, a hypothetical question. Is if my child is ahead and she went to summer school, her freshman and sophomore year to get ahead, and we are giving junior rankings for 13 through 19.5. If my child has 23 credits, is she considered a junior or a senior?
So what we do, Mr. Suarez, is that the ranking, the credits come into account only if they fall below the next grade. So if...
Right, so I want to talk hypothetically.
Okay.
The parents that spoke said we should talk, we should, juniors classified as from the 13th credit to the 19.5. That their argument is that when they have 20 credits, they're no longer considered juniors. They're considered seniors. So if my child is ahead of schedule, and at the end of what we think is her junior year by her age and by how she's been classified, if she has 22 credits, and we're going by the 13.5 to 19.5, would she be ranked as a junior?
If she declares that she wants to graduate in 3 years or 2 years, we will grade promote her to the cohort that she wants to graduate
So
with.
it's determined by the student?
It's determined.
Okay.
They declare it. So
Okay.
if I did one chart for you all so that you could see a flow chart. So if a student enters, and we have it now, we have students coming in
Yeah.
that say, I want to.
I guess my question was, it's not gonna affect the child that got ahead.
No, not
Okay.
at all.
So now
It-
let's reverse this. We have a child that got ahead, but now this sophomore has 15 credits. Are they considered in the junior rank, or are they considered in their sophomore rank?
If they declare they want to graduate early, we will grade, if the credits are there, we will promote them to the grade level that they're in.
Okay.
There are,
So, again, it's up to the student.
it's up to the
Okay,
student.
good.
Well, it's the student, and then there's a validating team,
Right.
the group, and they will, because we'll have students come from out of the country, and it'll be validated by a company that we hire. And so right now, we have a student that came in with 21 validated credits.
Right.
However, those 21 credits do not match what Texas requires for the 26
Right,
credits.
but-
So they validate a timeframe
But
for
it's
them.
up, if it does, if it is validated, it's up to the student to.
Yes.
Okay. So I guess my next question, sorry, I wrote a bunch of things down. My next question is for, I guess, Mr. Pugh. I know that you've been researching and calling other districts.
Yes, sir.
There's certain districts that have been mentioned and said that their practice is different from ours. Did you get that? Did
I
you
came
call
across
any
a couple.
districts that did
I
it
called some
different?
districts out of the valley also, and
Okay.
I came across a few.
Okay, and how did they do it?
One district labeled it a preliminary official on the first release, and then the second release was an official. Some ended on May 31st, would issue, and then would end at August 31st, and then would reissue. There have been some slight variations.
Has anybody called one of our state institutions to ask if it's okay? Anybody from our administration called to see if it's okay? I mean, everybody's gonna raise their hand, but I wanna know, have you called or anyone on our team called to see what their best practices, what are the numbers that they wanna see?
No, I did not ask that question.
Has there ever been a district that's gotten in trouble for doing ranks the way they should?
Ms. V, I'm sorry, Ms. Were you going to answer that question?
I was just going to give a summary that says that there are 33 districts in Region 1, and 30 districts returned Mr. Pugh's call, and all but one does a senior credit-based denominator. There were 9 other districts out of Region 1 that were called by Mr. Pugh, and 7 of them do the same practice, a senior base denominator, while 2 do a cohort or a grade level at the end, as Ms. Kelly referred to. So that was the summary, and like Mr. Pugh said, we're finding some districts now that release 2 end of 11th grade sixth semester rank to help the students that want to participate in rolling admission. So that would be the first one released so that they can use that July 1st. And then there's the second one that you see McAllen do, and it's in September, even October, some districts, because now they want that denominator to get bigger, and it does. The longer you wait, the bigger it gets. And so then that one overtakes the first one. But any of your kids that are in the number 1 down to whatever number they are, they're on both lists. So it's not a problem, and it was a great thing to discover in the research. And it is something very much we're interested in proposing to put into effect this year.
Can I clarify something?
Yes,
You said the number gets higher towards the end of the year?
Yes.
Yes.
So from the number in your junior year, you're saying then your senior year, that number gets higher?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, if you take it back to our 3, well, I'm just basing it on the data.
Okay, and I guess though, but by then, it's too late for admissions though, right?
Well, no, our practice has been to release it mid-October, then we backed it up September because we were trying to get closer to this rolling admission July 1. But when I found through this research that parents helped me see, there are districts, like Mr. Pugh was saying, that do 2 releases. The first the first that they're calling preliminary official, and then the second, which is the final official. We're proposing one to say release number 1 of 2 by July 1, and then a release 2 of 2 into September, October.
But we really don't know the number of school districts that actually release in May. How many school districts in the state? About 1,000, right?
There's, yes, sir.
1,050.
About 1,050, that's the number?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
1,200.
we're getting
ISDs.
a small sample right now. I mean, the reality is, we don't know how many school districts are actually doing it at the end of May.
We do. Out of our research, they were telling
Not
us,
in Region 1, but even across the state.
out of the 9 that we did, we got the data on when, and most,
Out of 1,000 school districts, we know
We
how
didn't
many.
do 1,000.
Well, that's what I'm
Right.
saying. I mean,
Yes, sir.
so you're giving us a
Little
small
bit.
sample of it with.
yes, sir,
Right,
correct.
right.
With all due respect to the trustees, if we let Ms. V finish her presentation, because she's got a few more slides that may answer some of those questions, and then we'll open it up again. Is that all right, Ms. V?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
So as you proceed, I can just gloss over, this is just a flow chart that we did for this year's juniors, and it just tells their story. So it goes from 8th grade to their 9th grade year, and then when you see academic, the kind of peach color, academic year 2017-18, fall, spring, summer, students are in their 2nd year, and that's when they got their first rank, end of 9th grade, 2nd semester rank. And always our calculations are based on who has earned that next credit into the next grade level. And then we get into, let's see if we are already, this is academic year 18-19, this is where we're at right now. And so in February, the proposal is for this year's junior to release the midterm 11th grade 5 semester. However, we are going to give a denominator disclaimer because it did confuse parents to look at those big denominators that were not their cohort of kids. That denominator had 4th year kids included in that. So we just want to have that disclaimer. Also, we want the disclaimer that some of those students in that denominator will graduate, which we saw in our analysis. And then another disclaimer that some students will withdraw and some students will enroll. So it's not anything about an official top 10%. In fact, in my research, I saw many districts only releasing a 2nd semester rank, a 4th semester rank, a 6th semester rank, and some of them 2, and then the senior. They didn't do this 5th semester rank midterm. Well, no, the 5th, the one that we'll release in February, that is their freshman year, fall, spring, summer, their sophomore year, and the fall of their junior year. So when you see that release, if you go back to the chart, Kyle, when you see that 579 that we started with, that green at Mac High, 490 at Memorial, and 491, that is their 5th semester midterm. That was this senior's years, that was their 5th semester midterm. We want a disclaimer with that this year because that 579 dropping to 569, then 18 of those kids graduating made that 579 be 551 just with that shift of 4th year kids that are in that. So we want a disclaimer to be able to explain that midterm 5th semester rank is very liquid. And
Why do you do that mid-semester one? Why don't you just wait until the end of the year?
you know, it's been the practice since we've ranked.
Because you can't use it for anything, can you?
You
I'm
cannot
sorry,
use
we
it,
were gonna do
no.
questions. My bad.
And you can't, and what I can see is it set a lot of disappointment. I mean, it caused your daughter to get a talking to by you, right? Did you say after your 5th semester? Because you saw it so different. But in her defense, in February of her...
489 to 425, right? So it pushed her out of that top 10.
But that 5th semester isn't anything about top 10 yet.
Right, but I think that's the whole
That's the
argument.
part,
Right.
and so as I see...
So answer this for me, because I'm trying, who does it hurt by releasing it at 489 at May?
At 480.
I mean, I guess I should ask Dr. Gonzalez, who,
At the 569, you're seeing that
that
569?
489 at the end of May? You know,
489
for-
at row.
Right, for example, let's say that was her last year in that class, and it drops
Okay.
to 425 when we release it to the schools, right? So the argument for me, the basic, you know, it's just
Right.
that, who does it hurt at 489?
Well, the 489, just one thing is 22 of those 489 graduated.
No, I know, but if you include them in the ranking, what does it hurt?
Okay.
Who does it hurt? I mean, I'm not gaming the system, that's kind of, I mean, we
I
are
think-
gaming the system, but we're gaming the system to help our kids get into college.
I think part of the point is end of the junior year. One interpretation is at the end of the junior year, it's whether you have 13 and 19.5 credits. That's the end of the junior
No,
year.
I
Right.
get that.
The other interpretation, and the way we've always looked at it, is the end of the junior year means junior year complete, so you have 20 credits, and
So
that's what we're looking at.
I guess, let me rephrase that question again. You have my daughter at 489, and I'm gonna use her because I don't wanna use anybody else. And you can release the numbers to help her get into school, but we wait to 425. I mean,
One of the schools of thought is, as they move to the system, they always have a fall, a spring, and a summer. So when they're a freshman, they have a fall, a spring, and a summer. So that's the same philosophy we used as a junior. You have the fall, the spring, and the summer.
Okay, let me try another. You're not, I know what you're trying to answer the question, but the question that parents are trying to ask is, you're leaving out 10 students from the early admissions. Why?
Because in our current practice, they don't have 20 credits. That's our current practice.
Okay.
We're saying 20 credit to 20
But
credit.
if you did it this way in May, how does it hurt the district?
I don't think it hurts anybody. It's just, there's two ways to do it. And we've always looked at the end of the junior year being junior year complete. That's, as far as hurting, the intent is not to hurt. The intent is to have a true picture of who got through their junior year, who has the 20 credits, and then give people opportunities to use that summer like they've had every other year throughout their journey, and to get them caught up. And then when they get to their senior year, they're gonna find that there's students in their senior year that weren't part of their junior class. They didn't finish. You wanna explain that part? Seniors on the backside that didn't finish with their cohort, so now they go back into the denominator of that junior class?
Right, well, if you see at Mac High, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the fourth column, you'll see 15 and 3 equals 18. Those 3 were actually fifth-year kids. So when you're talking about cohort, when you're going, it's like, if you're gonna do a cohort, well, then it should be 3-year kids. But that denominator includes 5-year kids, 4-year kids, because we run a credit-based. And so we only grade level change when a student is retained. If you declare, like Mr. Swadas was asking, if you declare you want to finish early, I want to finish early. At this time with the counselor, that team, you validate and you want to finish early, now we will grade promote you to the credits that you have, your grade level, because now we're trying to get you for that cohort. So the current practice is a practice of calculation of how many credits you've earned, and if your credits are more than you need, but you're wanting to be in your 4th year, 3rd year, 2nd year, 1st year, that's where you're at. If you are behind, we grade level. So, like we were saying, that 579 denominator, or let's do row, that 491 denominator that students, this year's seniors received in February in their spring junior year based on their fall work, 8 of those kids, you see the 3rd column, 8 of those kids were 5th year and 14 of those kids were 4th year. So that is a inflated, if you're talking about with your 3rd year cohort, that amount of kids it's bigger.
So you're saying that denominator will actually be 467, and if it's gonna go by cohort,
Yes,
so it does go down? Yes.
because they stay, while they do not have 20 credits, they're 11th. Or while they don't have 13 credits, they're 10th. And that grade level is based on mastery of credits. It's not based on how many years they've been in high school.
And this is what goes in the PEAMS report.
Yes, sir.
Is when you enter the number of credits, it tells you what grade level
Yes.
they actually are.
Absolutely.
So even though their cohort may now already be going into the senior year, since they don't have the 20 in the PEMS,
Yes,
then it's going to show that their 11th grader retained.
that's right.
Sorry, didn't, I was trying to do what you're doing. Now I blew it. You're the one that stood.
Now, the other part, Mr. Alvarado, when you're seeing the 551, you watch row, there's 491 in February, their fifth semester rank that had fifth year and fourth year mixed with it. And then some kids withdrew, so it's 489 minus the 22 that graduated. Now that denominator is 467. Even that 467 doesn't have only third-year kids in it. Because, do you see all those retained? Some of those retained are still those fourth-year kids that didn't make it by 531.
Can I just say something real quick? I promise not to talk anymore.
Quick.
Quick. Because all these numbers are confusing, everybody's looking at. And because you know the data and perhaps we don't, but, you know, in talking to Dr. Gonzalez and discussions with other people, I think is we don't want to do anything wrong and that discredits our district. My suggestion, I speak for myself, is to call the universities, UT, Texas, Texas Tech, and ask them if it would be a normal practice to include these numbers of kids. And if they say yes, then it does not undermine our integrity. And I think that's what we're worried about. And I think that everybody would be happy. I think if the universities were to say no, I think the intentions, when we are asking for a class rank, we want a completed junior ranking, then this conversation's over. If they say no, it's between 13 and 19, and that's what we're asking for when we get the class rank, conversation's over. But we're breaking our heads because there was a vague law made, and we're here trying to interpret it. Nobody's wrong, but we're trying to do the right thing, and we don't know what the right thing is, so we believe that normal practice is the right thing. And I think, I mean, we can be here all night talking about numbers and what we're gonna do, but if universities are asking between 13 and 19 and a half, for you as administration, they have told you, not anybody else, no parents, no student, if they told you, because you have to make the decision and justify the decision. If that decision is something that you're happy with, then I think the board would agree with whatever decision you would make. And I'm not gonna speak.
Actually, I don't agree, because you call Austin and Katy ISD. If Katy ISD doesn't release in the May, which they currently do, then I'll agree. But they release at the end of May.
But no, we're not talking about release. All
No,
we're
no,
talking
no, no.
about is
Well, hold on,
what
sir.
you classify.
You-
Our argument is the classification, whether.
One at a time, please.
Yeah, the argument that we're trying to make is, do you classify them from 13.5 to 20 credits, or do you classify them after they completed the 20 credits?
So let me finish my point. Katy ISD releases the end of May, so their denominator is higher. More students get into the universities. Other ISDs do this too. There's a few, and there's 1,000. There's a lot more. Again, this is not our issue. This is a state issue. However, if they're releasing in May and their kids are getting in at a higher number, all I'm saying is, for Miss Lusher, for example, sitting out there, she missed early admissions because that denominator went higher. If that denominator was higher, she could be accepted into UT at early admissions. That's it.
But shame
Now-
on the university for not looking how Katie does it. If they're doing it wrong, doesn't mean
I
we should
agree.
go out and do it wrong as well.
But it's not right or wrong. It's this system that's in place right now. That's why I keep saying this is a state issue. But if we follow what Katie's doing, whatever, then our kids get into school. It's not just the top 10, it's top 25%, like we referenced. UTSA, UTRGV, they get in sooner. But I'm with you. We can talk about this, it's
Have the presentation, if we can hear it, finish the presentation.
If I may, Mr. President?
Yes.
Just, I know we mentioned Katy, is that one of the school districts that we checked with?
Yes, it is.
Please.
I did not personally talk to Katy
Okay.
ISD. I know Trustee Alaceta. That was one of the schools that she reached out to and provided us documentation for their response.
And their responses, do they use the senior credits?
It says credit-based seniors, end of summer, September.
I'll wait.
Trustee Aliceda.
No, I'll wait.
We'll clarify.
I'm gonna wait.
Are they right? Because I'm going off your information.
But I'll wait.
Okay, Ms. Fee, please. Proceed.
That
it?
That's it.
Trustee Aliceda.
Thank you. I'm gonna take,
No,
I'm
you're
gonna
not.
leave it. No, because when everybody was standing there talking, I just kind of started daydreaming. I was looking at behind you, Mr. Pugh, the awards on the wall that we got for best school board in the state of Texas. And the reason that we got that was because we were innovative, because we wanted to level the playing field here in in the city of McAllen, because we realized that our students were going off to college and they didn't have technology, they weren't comfortable with technology. And it was an equity. And when we go to trainings, we understand equity is an equality. And there's a great picture of two kids looking over a fence, and they're at the same height looking over the fence, but behind the fence what you don't see is one kid is standing on the ground and one kid is standing on two boxes. We're trying to provide the two boxes so that when we look across the fence, we're all looking at the same eye level. To me, that's equity. And that's what since 2012, we've been trying to do science labs, because we're trying to make sure that our students, when they go to college, they have science labs and they have everything that they need to be competitive with people from Austin and Katy and all that. And that's what we're so good at doing. The reason that you can't call the University of Texas Austin about the credits is because every school district does credits differently. Some people do 24 credits, some people do 20 credits,
Right.
some people say a ninth grader, so you can't do credits. Sorry, I'm very emotional about this. I have a little bit of insight on this because I've been privy to conversations for 6 years, because my husband sits on the University of Texas System Board of Regents, and that's in charge of 13 universities. So I hear conversations. This top 10% rule involves 37 Texas universities, not just A&M, UT. It involves 37 universities. And they made this, they had to throw out affirmative action because appellate court found it. So they came up with this top 10% rule, House Bill 588. They made it school-specific standard, and they were very specific in allowing schools to have the leeway so that they could determine what is their junior ranking. And what I'm talking about is percentile ranking, junior percentile ranking, for purposes only of automatic early admissions to Texas universities. I'm not talking about that incredible presentation of absolute senior ranking. So it's two different monkeys we're talking about. I'm not talking about cohorts. I'm not talking about credits. I'm talking about percentile ranking, the end of your junior year. So this snapshot of the end of your junior year is May 31st. If you failed a class, you were in that class. You were in that, and the way that I've done open records, and other school districts do it too, they do the June 1st ranking, they do it with the entire denominator. If you started 500 students because however they determine junior class, so if their junior class is 13 to 19 credits like we do, everybody in that ranking has 13 to 19 credits. You don't need 20 to be a senior, you just have to be a junior. And so if you only have 16 credits, you're still ranked in there. You might be number 800, but you're still ranked in there. And so they use that big denominator as a reason. They use it so that school districts that come from small cities like McAllen, Texas, that come from low socioeconomic demographics, we can compete with the Austins who have affluent school districts who are providing SAT classes. They're bringing in different people. They're able to do better on their SAT scores because they're preparing for the test in different ways, different manners. They have private tutors, they're fluent, they're doing all this. And so the Texas legislature realized that the schools in Texas state universities did not look like Texas. They were not diverse like Texas. So they created this top 10% rule to make sure that we in McAllen, Texas had as many kids as we could in that university. And so if we see an opportunity, and it's not a gray area, it is our discretion. There's nothing gray, there's nothing unethical, there's nothing about it that we can't say today, we will today decide that we will use the entire, if you have 13 and 19 credits, doesn't matter where you fall, you are classified a junior for percentile ranking for the early admission to Texas universities. And that's all that I'm talking about. I think we're getting so mixed up on the different between absolute senior ranking and top 10 percentile ranking. I just want to read a few things. I know I've taken a lot of time, but the top 10% is a transition away from race-based policy known as affirmative action because it ensures geographic and ethnic diversity in public universities. So I feel like we have to do everything we can to make sure that geographically, our students are going up and competing on the same level playing field as everybody else. I can go on. I've got other, I can quote, in fact, actually, maybe I should explain this. The policy pertains to both public and private high school students. For determining eligibility, a student's class rank is based on his or her position at the end of 11th grade, then at the middle of 12th grade, or at the high school graduation, whichever is most recent to the cause of application deadline. Class rank is computed by the individual high school, and administrators have discretion regarding the formula. I mean, I'm with you. and I'm with the people that were public speaking today. I feel like we didn't do anything wrong. We've always been doing it as the best we could. We just found out that there's a different way to look at it. It's when did you know and what did you do about it? Well, now we know. What are we going to do about it? And it's not in our curriculum bulletin. This is the curriculum bulletin. It's not in the curriculum bulletin, so we can change it today. We don't have to wait for the cohort that's in the 8th grade coming up into the 9th grade. We can change it just as we put an addendum in for the exemptions. We can put addendum in and actually put in the class ranking. And I love what Ms. V did in the presentation. She hasn't gotten to it yet, but in the presentation, she has alternate practice number 3. And that is exactly what I was hoping that she would give us some different things to talk about. That works. It gives you the July 1st ranking that goes out that includes the denominator of the entire junior class, whether you have 13 credits or 19 credits, but then it also gives you your September ranking. I'll stop.
Thank you, Trustee Lisa. Anyone else? Trustee?
This is an emotional issue because it affects people's lives. And, we're here, and we chose to be here because we really care about helping this community's children to aspire to realize their dreams and hopes and aspirations, especially those of their parents as well. For many, it'd be the first time they go to college in their family. And that's what we're looking to is the entire school district. And it comes first. But we don't operate in a vacuum. We have to look at different variables. And so I appreciate the families coming forward because the way I see it is we've identified a gap of 98 students with this cohort at Mac High, 75 students at Memorial, and 80 students at Rowe. And that makes up of the class, and that's based on the ranking class, of 17% at Mac High, 6% at Memorial, and 17% at Rowe. That is very disconcerting. That's students that are being left behind in some way, shape, or form. And there's a term that Trustee Esparza has brought into the conversation, and I fully agree and support that, is these bubbles. There are districts around us that are targeting those bubbles much more effectively. And we attempted to do that when we passed the board policy addressing the summer to be included in the ranking for certain areas of study. And that's how that came about. But the other is that we need to, I think, address early on, and not to take away what's happening thus far, because it's a lot of great work being done by our counselors and a lot of great done by our teachers. Clearly, our parents are engaged and involved. But somehow we need to have, and I talked to the superintendent, a much more clean, and I've shared with him some documents that are available on TEA for the foundational studies, and I think we talked about it in our committee meeting. It's very easy to follow. It's on the website at TEA. It's color-coded, so parents and students can easily see where their children are progressing and where they're not. And so in my mind, I don't see that we should be having this big a gap in the 13 to 19.5 in the junior year ranking. That's way too far apart. And we must be doing something much more purposely early on. I've heard the superintendent years ago, before I ever got on the board, speak to some students in 8th grade when my son was there. And he was talking about expectations going to high school. And one of the things he said then, and I've heard him say it to others, is that when does school rankings start? And nobody had the answer, or if we did, it was not the right one. And his response, and it's true, ranking starts the first day. And that's true in life. Whenever you go working for an employer, or wherever you go to colleges, or whatever you do, everything starts when the moment of your role has changed into it. Now, I know we're not supposed to grandstand speech, and I apologize, but I just want to put it in its framework as to what I'm going to ask some questions now, if I may, Mr. President. Going back to the assurance of automatic admission to Texas colleges, this was a 1997 law. Clearly, we're due for a revision. But it states, as also known as the Texas Top 10% Law, guaranteeing automatic admission to all state-funded universities of Texas, universities for Texas students in the top percent of their public high school class. It clearly mentions class there. It's a little different than what the other documents mention. The law was later amended to allow universities to cap their admissions to the top 10% as 75% of their freshman seats, and it has quote-unquote to seats. And it goes on to say many colleges, especially in Texas, have automatic admission or assured admission for students who meet certain criteria. And it gives an example that the top 10 in automatic, but those in the top 25 quarter who also get minimum scores in SAT, ACT, and also are guaranteed automatic admission. And then it goes on to say that students who meet automatic standards for admission must still complete the admissions application and required materials such as a transcript and test scores. And then it goes, if you look at legal, and that's what, you understand the law that to be, Mr. Pugh and Ms. V, that that's the main points that you raised in earlier conversations with the board. Anything different or to add to that, or is that pretty much as you understood the statute?
Yes.
Okay. Then you go on to legal, which is a regulatory application. And there's been a revision, and actually in our board policy, we did not have the recent one, and we do now, when this conversation started. And this was now July 18, 2018 is a revision. And then this is legal, so it means TEA has mandated this, and the board has approved it. And it states class rank, high school rank for students seeking automatic admission to a general education institution on the basis of their class rank is determined and reported as follows. Most recent available class rank based on a point in time no earlier than the end of the 11th grade. So it goes back to Trustee Espada's, why are we doing it something sooner than that? And shall be used for admission decision-making. 2, the top 10% and top 25% of a high school class shall not contain more than 10% and top 25% respectively of the total class size. And then it goes on, number 3, the student's rank will be reported by the application's high school or school district as a specific number out of a specific number total class size. And number 4, class rank shall be determined by the Texas school or the district from which the student graduated or is expected to graduate. Now, the district's responsible for a lot of criteria that the board must constantly be monitoring. You know, retention, dropout rate, graduation rates, things of that nature. If we make any change at this time, would that have an impact on the graduation? Could it have an impact on the graduation rate?
A change on the definition of the denominator?
Yeah.
The graduation rate is based on the credits complete.
Okay.
The ranking is a separate, on one of these, the ranking is about a philosophy to, well, it's also law, but it's a philosophy to honor the academic accomplishments of students' work in school. But the graduation rate is absolutely about credits complete and the test complete.
So if an individual, I mean, the whole point of public ed is to get children to graduate and hopefully get them to college, universities, or other locations or into the workforce as quickly as possible. Because we want our children to compete for those jobs afterwards for other districts. I mean, that's ultimately our goal, to educate, right? And you talked about the philosophy. It says in local, EIC local, this is McAllen District, says the district's desire is to honor and recognize students who have attain high academic achievement through self-discipline, grit, and determination. And then it goes on to talk about class rank from a local standpoint, and we all have seen it. We're not going to get into that. But when we talk about there's 4 areas for which the state states that we will have folks to graduate with certain credits. And we are operating under the foundation, which is ones that all school districts follow. But they can also follow other ones, such as McAllen has done. We go to the 26, which is the diploma one, the higher one. And that factors in that at the end of their junior year, they should have 20 hours, and that's where that came from, because the local policy talks about GPA/RIC, which is rank in completed. And that's how that came about. Is that correct? And that's why we've been following it?
Yes.
So if we were going to make a change, we'd also have to change our board policy to take out or revise what that means and how that will be followed.
We do not have local policy on ranking. We only have administrative regulation. We've been it's not something that we added to that.
Right, but we do have board policy that talks about ranking and like for example, on page 2, courses counted for class rank. And it says semester averages shall be used to calculate GPA and RIC, which is rank in class, right? That's what it stands for. With the exception of courses taken during 2011-2012 school year. All year-long courses recorded in high school transcripts for the 2011-2012 school year will be counted GPA and rank in class using the final year grade average. So in essence, it sets the stage for what you're doing on the rate, on the more specifics in the administration guys or the regulations by the
Yes, sir.
superintendent. But this is a board policies item. Doesn't get into the nitty-gritty and specifics. But it also makes reference at some point in the Texas Education Code, when you look at the statute, it talks about another part. And it states here that each public university shall admit first-time undergraduate students for each semester in accordance with the Texas Education Code, and it outlines the various codes. Only the University of Texas in Austin shall admit students under Education Code 51.803, and then A through 1, 8 through 5, and subsection E. And it goes on to say that all applicants for Texas schools accredited for general recognized accreditation agencies who graduated in the top 10% of their high school class and who are graduates of the top 25. I mean, so the whole point of the gist of all this is that they're going to be graduating. They're in a position of being able to, because it goes further on to say that we as a school district can attest when those transcripts are put out that they're on track to actually graduate in that school year period for which they're applying to their college or university, especially when it comes to early admission. Is that not the gist of what the statute and the Texas Education Code is trying to lean us to?
That's been the interpretation of the practice that we have been a part of. It's been that the students that are included in that rank have the foundational credits. All of our rank, the practices have been that the credits have been accomplished to be out of that group that you're receiving the conclusion. The second semester rank is you're out of the range of administrative regulation credits. You've successfully completed them. And the same with the 4th semester and same with the 6th. It's just the practice that has been in place. It's the interpretation.
Yeah, because it even goes further down on subsection 2, the student submitted an official high school transcript or diploma that must, no later than the end of the student's junior year, indicate whether the student has satisfied the requirements outlined under the paragraph. I'm not going to read it again, but it basically says that you've satisfied the requirements on any one of those 4 graduation plans, because that's ultimately what they're attempting to do, is that you are on track to graduate with that group. I'd like us to see a way of continuing to have the conversation to identify as many students as we possibly can. But I take it from the position that I'd like us to close these gaps where we don't have to have this conversation, that a cohort that's coming together, as it was probably when we were going to school, that you see and look around you, that when you were in elementary school and middle school, that's your same cohort is pretty much with you. The reality is life is different now. You know, we used to have 2 or 3, you know, racial groups or ethnic groups. There's 34 in this school district. And then you have individuals coming and going from other districts, coming and going from other countries, coming and going from other states. And then you have children that have decided to graduate in 3 years versus 4, which changes the formula. But be that as it may, I think there's a real opportunity here of addressing those students that are falling way below the norm before they get into their junior year, of truly recovering that. And so I'd like to hear some things, not necessarily tonight, but what is the plan of the superintendent and administration to address those gaps much earlier so that the norm is not the bare minimum of 13, but the norm is much closer to the 20. Anyway, thank you, Mr. President, for your time and attention. I'm sorry for the late hour, but you know, this is the first time I've had a chance to talk about it. I've heard a lot of things. We've spent a lot of time on this. It's a very important one because there are a lot of ramifications for a lot of people, in a good way and a bad way. And in the end of the day, what is right for everyone concerned, especially the individual student. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Saliva. I have some questions for Ms. V or Mr. Pugh or Dr. Ivana or maybe even Ms. Nitsch. Do we know how many graduating seniors there are in the state of Texas every year?
Graduating seniors in the state of Texas.
We graduate 1,200 to 1,500. Do we know how many statewide? There's 5 million plus kids in Texas, right?
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, President Bella, I don't know. That'd be something I have to do some research on.
Okay. And how many incoming freshmen does UT admit?
Well, the slide that we had, based on just came through the one on the prior, they just dropped it down to 6%.
But do you know how many numbers they are? You know how many number that is? 10,000?
I'm getting an answer.
Okay, 10,000.
15,000.
15. Okay. At the end of the day, and I'm not, it's something that we have to consider, is that there are only a finite number of seats for freshmen coming into all of these universities. And let's say there's 1 million graduating seniors every year, because there's 5 million plus kids. Let's say there's 1 million. I mean, top 10% is 500,000. Is that right?
Yeah.
100,000. 100,000. And if you move, by my calculations, if you move it to include the end of the junior year ranking, my calculations show that it's about a 2% gap. So if you add 20,000 kids, just by that mere calculation, that's 20 more thousand kids that these universities would have to admit by their own rule. Now, UT has moved it from 10 to 6% because there weren't available seats for those freshmen.
Right.
I'm afraid that we may be pushing that 10% down to 9% or 8% or 6%.
Or not at all.
Or if all the school districts admitted 100,000 more kids or 50,000 or 20,000 more kids because of the rank. I'm not, to quote Mr. Saliva, I'm not buying or selling, but I think it is something that needs to be considered at some point, which leads me back to the point that Trustee Alvarado said early on in this discussion, is that our legislature has to work in conjunction with our institutions of higher learning to come up with a plan so that we don't exceed the number of kids that can be admitted to a university without being enough seats for those kids to be admitted into. And we may be, instead of admitting 15,000 kids to A&M, we may be down to 10,000 kids, or same with UT. We may be shooting ourselves in the foot. And I say we, I'm talking about every school district in the state of Texas, not just us. But it is something that has to be considered at some point in time. If we lower the number of kids that can be admitted because of the rank, we will cut the number of seats that are available to them.
Well,
Mr. Thon.
Yeah, Mr.
Yes.
President, if I may follow what you're saying, you know, what everything we've read as well says that, especially in the University of Texas, is that these students would not be necessarily guaranteed the program they want to go into or the school, you know. And so a lot of kids in business would like to get in the Red McCollins, but it's very, very limited. And so what they may get accepted is to some other program that's not within there. And I can tell you, many of the children that I've come across over the years, and there was a group of them with my son and his cohort that got accepted, but that wasn't the program they wanted. And so half of them ended up going to other fine institutions as their second or third choice, but their dream and aspiration was to get into, but they didn't get the program or the school that they wanted because of what Mr. Vela just pointed out. It's just so many kids going into the program. And then they're gonna, within the program, they're gonna, within the school, the university, they're gonna have to make decisions. Yeah, you made it into the top 10 automatic, but now you're ranked compared to everybody else in that group as to whether you get the class you wanted or not compared to somebody else. It's the point of the matter, in the end of the day, it's competitive. And we need to help our children to understand that it is a highly competitive world. It doesn't necessarily mean it's unfair, so we got to find equity and adequacy within what we're doing. But I think Trustee Vela pretty much hit it right on the head. I just wanted to add that other piece, and I think he would have.
I totally disagree.
No, hit, let him finish his opinion.
Well,
Yeah.
no, it's
Yeah.
not my opinion. It's a component that has been stated. It's the basic math of what we're and UT is clearly. I mean, we already know they're already going to go to 6.
Right.
If we and others start, then it's very easy for them and others to start moving that needle away. And so, like you said, does it hurt anybody? Not in the short term, but where do we fall into the long term?
Yeah, but the point of the matter, to my opinion, and I understand everything you're saying, I agree, but Fort Bend, Austin ISD, and Katy ISD right now, I have a head start on our kids for admission to early admission, because they use that May number, they have a higher number of kids. So our kids are in this race for early admission, that's all I'm talking about. Under the current structure right now, we're behind them. That's all I'm saying. And I would like to be on the same starting point as them. And then, you know, that's just, everything you said, Sam, Danny, I agree, but they got to fix that.
They do.
How do you
But
tell?
that's not on us, though.
No.
What we have in our capability, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no,
But
I agree.
what we have the flexibility to do, we have the discretion, the law gives us the discretion to determine what the numerator is. And so if we have the discretion, and their goal in the top 10% plan, the entire goal is to have Texas look like the Valley, they need the demographics of what we have, for the geography that we have here, they need up there. That's why they put this law into place, was so that McAllen students could take those top 10%. And it matters for the honors program and the Red McCombs, because the 4% and the 3% that you need to get in the honors program, it's bigger. Even if you add one person into it by changing the denominator, you're changing the trajectory of a life, and
Yeah.
I mean, it's impacting. I mean, my own daughter missed it by one person. Her trajectory is entirely different now because of something that, had I known a year ago, I could have maybe hopefully done something a year ago, because like he said, Katy ISD, Austin ISD, Fort Bend ISD, we're behind the 8 ball, because they they're the way they're reading it, their class rank, and not class rank for the purposes of graduating, not class rank for the purpose of valedictorian, salutatorian, but for the percentile for early admissions only, for top 10%, the junior year into junior year ranking is with the denominator of who started the race in August, however you finished in May. It doesn't matter if you finish 500, you don't get dropped off. You don't end up with just 400 if 100 failed. You're still in that because you started out with the 13 credits, so you're still a junior.
Well, now, Trustee Elisa, you mentioned you liked alternative 3. Is that what you were saying on this chart? Well, in this chart, it says ranking of all 20 credits and higher, so that's to include the summer. So even category 3 still has a.
But that's the September, that's not for early enrollment. That's not for the July 1 release, the opening of the gates, of the floodgates for all these universities.
Well, it said release would be June, that's what it said.
Right. So the first part of it, A, is exactly what Ito and I are trying to say. And then B is with the smaller class size. But your official transcript does not have to have your class rank on it. The ranking that needs to go on it is your junior year end of school ranking. You can have the option of putting your percentile on there. The end of your graduation transcript that has all the courses you completed and all the grades you made, that does not have your percentile on there.
You get into UT under 5%, you say early admissions. At the end of the semester, if you say Ms. Lesher there has senioritis, quits going to school, barely passes, it doesn't affect your status in that
She's
school.
still in.
She's still in. I mean, it's not my system, that's just the way I've learned that. With my daughter, it does, so, all the class rankings, that's why he's not gonna care when she gets in.
Right.
As long as she graduates and has the diploma, well, he
Right.
will, but.
But it's a junior class ranking.
It's just a ranking, the initial ranking to get into college, that's what we're saying, but anyway, we can talk, like you said.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's time to move on.
Do you want, Ms. Nish came to the microphone.
I
Do you
did.
want-
Thank you. I just wanted to address that our top 10%, our top 6%, even our top 25% is so much more competitive due to everything that this board has done in the last 10 years. Some of you have been here that long, in the last 5 years, in the last 3 years, but everything that has been put into the system at the high schools, our kids are so competitive that our kids would be getting into those programs. 7%, 8%, 10% would be qualifying to get into McCombs because they have so much more depth in their curriculum and their resumes are so much more robust than average kids coming out of other districts, than top 5%, 4%, 3% kids. So I just wanted to say that's really important for us to understand that we are putting forth a very high-quality student, but they're not being able to take advantage of that opportunity that they should be able to.
Well, not with the automatic admission. They're able to compete, because I know several students that have gotten into, not to run McCombs, mind you, but into the University of Texas, or A&M, or Tech, whatever the case may be, after that automatic admission, based on where they stand, past the top 10%, and they're still, because that only accounts for 75% of their decision-making at the colleges and university. The other 25, they're going to take into account your SAT, your ACT, or other accolades you may have. So while you may not have been in the top 10%, you can still get into the University of Texas in that other 25% that they allow in, aside from the 10%. My son was one of them and graduated from them.
And
So,
I want to
go ahead.
clarify, I think, I was talking to Trustee Suarez, I'm talking about the preliminary, the preliminary junior
The
ranking,
junior.
not the official
No.
senior ranking. I think that's easier to understand.
Thank you all,
Yeah.
too. You gonna say something?
Just the way I look at it now, after looking at it, it's kind of like an unofficial rank to allow more kids to get into college. Nothing more and nothing less.
Yes, that's it.
To
That's
wrap
exactly
this
So
up,
don't call the universities like that.
Mr. President, if I
to
may.
wrap this up,
Yeah,
Dr. Gonzalez,
There
have
you
the
go.
last word.
One thing I do want to say first and foremost is thank you to the parents that came out
Yeah.
tonight. And I know we've been having this discussion over the last couple of weeks or even months. And we're taking the conversation seriously, but in looking at the history of our district, and, you know, I'm looking at the portraits all along the back wall there, this has been a practice for many, many, many years. So we want to make sure that we do our due diligence to do our work and to make sure that we make the best decision. So I know that there's some frustration because we want an answer, we want it now, we want it changed, we want it now. And our position is we need to, sometimes you need to go slow to go fast. And in this one, we needed to do our research and talk to as many people as we can and get perspective from the board. So I celebrate conversations like this. I like the back and forth because it's going to help our district grow and it's going to help us get better. So we're going to get together tomorrow morning. We're going to look at it again, make some phone calls. A lot of great suggestions have been made tonight. But I want you all to know that we're looking at it with an open mind. We're looking at it for what's in the best interest of the district. We're looking at it for what we can do to create an environment where students do have the best possibilities of being successful. So with that, Mr. President, if the administration could have some more time to make some calls, to look at it deeper, and then we'll get back to you all as soon as possible.
So you're saying you don't want us to talk about this anymore?
No, sir, I'm not
It's a
saying
joke.
that.
It's a joke, it's a joke. We can move on.
I'm saying that we're learning and growing as a district because of this, and I'm celebrating this, and I don't want anybody to feel like we're not listening or that we're being closed-minded. It's the opposite. We're being open-minded, but it's big. It's something that's big, and it's something that has been executed this way for many years and is executed this way by most. Doesn't mean that it's right, but it's executed by most districts the way that we're doing it currently. But if we can have more time to look into it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. Thank you all for the conversation and for the board. It's been great conversation and certainly some stimulating thoughts and ideas that have come out of it. And I'm sure at the end of the day, we'll come out with a good recommendation and a good policy change or regulation change in this case.
So we're on item
Motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Mr.
I was
Pugh,
like-
Ms. V, thank you all. Item 9B3, turn to Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. This is a report regarding facilities maintenance and operation projects items submitted by Mr. Trevino. And this is a monthly report by our FMO department. Mr. Trevino will walk us through this month's projects, and this is for information purposes only. It's a short report.
Good evening. I'll be presenting on some of the FMO projects.
Okay, that's our new sound system.
It's probably on.
Pull the microphone.
That's part of his new report.
I know we're starting new, but I just want to make sure everyone understands November 1st is in 7 days from now. So we need to speed up the process of the class ranking.
Of the maintenance?
No, of class ranking, I'm sorry. I'm still on class ranking, I'm still,
Okay.
I still have fire under here. But the deadline is November 1st, when the floodgates open, so just like to say that.
The first slide that I have on the presentation here is the new security entrance, the doors over at Lamar Academy. FMO department has been working out there for the last couple of weeks, doing some upgrades to the front entrance of the campus. This slide here is the other side of the front entrance where there's been modifications made to the principal's office area, administrative areas at Lamar, along with a new reception window, and the hallways have been revamped on the interior. The ongoing projects on the whiteboards, we've got 2 campuses that have been completed. Seguin is scheduled, Achieve is scheduled, along with the rest of the replacement schedule that we have going. We received bids these past week on construction for whiteboards and reconfiguration of walls at the different campuses. The roof replacements that we have going on right now, we have the low slope roofing at 95% at Gonzalez Elementary. We're running a little behind due to the weather. Rayburn is 40% complete as a whole roof for the entire school. Department of Technology, which is a Crockett building, will be ready to bid that project out in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And Lincoln is in design as well. The fire alarm replacements for administration and HR, we're at 95%. The back punch list was being conducted today. We had members of the engineering firm along with the contractor and FMO staff walking admin, HR, and Alvarez. Lamar Academy is currently at 75% complete as per the walkthrough last week. We also have the fence replacement, which is a safety fence on the west side of Fossum, already has started, and along the north side of the front entrance at Fossum Middle School. We have started the remodel at the Fine Arts, or the band building on the north side of Lincoln. FMO is taking on all the remodeling of the building on the interior. The demolition stage is going on right now. We're trying to reuse as much as we can, such as some of the band lockers that have been relocated and other door frames, and along with some areas that we're able to work around.
That's the band hall, right? Or the
Yes,
choir
sir.
room, one of the two? What did you do with the door being up in the air and now the bleachers are all gone?
That's coming down and bringing down the whole door frame to continue to use that as part of the storage area.
It's 8 feet off the ground.
The air handlers at Rowe High School, that project is now complete. The punch list is ongoing and should be complete here in the next week. Camera intercom installs, they're also performing the punch list right now. De Leon and Jackson are 2 weeks in with the new intercoms, and the McHigh intercom is at about 40% completion as of today. For the month of September, we had 1,501 work orders submitted, 1,317 completed. And this concludes my report for this month.
Thank you, Mr. Trevino. Any questions or comments? from the
Quick
committee
question for Dr. Gonzalez. Dr. Gonzalez, kind of related to this, with the TRE passing, we have some additional funds for facilities, and I know there's been a lot of work on your behalf, and, I mean, all of y'all.
At what point are y'all gonna present to us, we're on track, as far as what the next steps are?
For our next board meeting, we will have a complete report on the TRE with timelines on all the projects that were on the TRE. Those projects being anything from the science labs to the intercom systems to the 19 police officers that have been hired already and are in training, along with our defibrillators that are being purchased, and any safety security upgrades that we're doing to the district campuses, district-wide. So we'll have a full report as an update.
Thank you.
Yeah, one detail on the police officers, we have 17 of the 19 hired at this point.
Awesome.
They're going to their training right now. So Chief's moving fast.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir, trustee Sanders.
A couple of things. There was a list that the board approved back in June that were part of the presentation on the TRE. We just talked about several, but another piece is the HR piece, which was the salaries. If we could have an update on that as well as to when those funds will be dispersed to staff. I know we've been made aware of it, but it'd probably be good to have a report that that component is being addressed. That's a salary change, remember?
Yes. Currently, we have been working in conjunction with Human Resources, the payroll department has, and the first group that we will be rolling out will be this week with our biweekly, it was last Friday with the biweekly payroll.
Okay.
So that rollout already occurred. This week, we'll be rolling out the monthly.
Okay, excellent.
Additional compensation. And we should be providing a board update for you this week on the biweekly and how that's come along. It's been very successful.
Good, thank you. And going back to MNO, and that's where I really should have stayed, I'm sorry. How soon could we have a report regarding the basis system and where, with all the effort and time it is put into this district facilities, but under the Facility Education Master Plan, we were going to use basis to see where all that effort so far, where we stand on these facilities in the various categories that we were looking at.
We can have a report for the board in the month of December that will include any upgrades that are now finished. I believe that when we started with the basis system, we had talked about doing the needed upgrades to the system and updates during the months of November and December to include any summer projects that may have been lagging or are now complete, so that they would be reflected on the report.
Okay.
Because we won't put anything on the report unless it's fully complete.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. Moving on to item 9B4, Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. This is a report regarding monthly financials and investment report for September 2018, and Mrs. Richards will present the monthly financials.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. The financial report for September 30th, 2018 reflects year-to-date revenues of $33,510,419. The year-to-date expenditures, are $51,889,192, resulting in expenditures over revenues of $18,378,773. I will now move on to the monthly investment report for September 30th, 2018. The beginning market value is $97,560,698. The ending market value is $108,456,032. The average yield to maturity for the period is 1.906%. And the portfolio reflects year-to-date total earnings of $450,096.76. And that completes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Richards. Moving on to item 9B5, Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. Ms. Richards will report on the monthly taxes collected by the Hidalgo County Tax Office on behalf of McAllen ISD for September 2018. This is for information purposes only.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. The amount of delinquent taxes collected for the month of September were $270,481.29. The year-to-date collections are $1,080,302.89, and the delinquent tax collection percentage is 15.75%, very comparable to this time last year. And that completes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Richards. Is there any questions or comments from any member of the board? Hearing none, we'll move on to item number 10 on today's agenda, which is include action on items in closed session. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. On 10A is approval of Human Resources recommendations for the school year 2018-2019, and Human Resources is submitting a list of recommendations as they're under separate cover for discussion during closed session, and we are requesting action on this item.
So moved.
It's been moved by trustee Suarez and seconded by trustee Farina. Are there any questions or comments on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor of the item signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. 10B, Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. Human Resources is submitting a list of resignations for the 2018-2019 school year under separate cover for discussion during closed session. This item is for information purposes only.
Any comments or questions from the board?
Yep.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. Moving on to item 10C, Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. As per board policy, DFBA legal, the board may terminate a term contract and discharge a term contract employee at any time for good cause as determined by the board. The termination of the term contract employee for good cause is based on a recommendation from the superintendent, and we are requesting action on this item.
So moved. It's been moved by trustee Suarez. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved to second. Any comments or questions on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor of the item signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Item 10D, Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. Administration recommends Judith Escamilla for the position of Executive Director for Technology, and we are requesting action on this item.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the Executive Director for Technology. Are there any comments or questions from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor of the item signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. Dr. Gonzalez, 10E, pending and or potential litigation, Mr.
No report.
And 10F, possible real estate acquisition.
No report.
Thank you, Mr. Crane. Item number 11 is our consent agenda items. We have 5 items this evening. 10A, approval of bid for audiovisual equipment. 11B is approval of revision for previous board agenda approval of agreement number with South Texas College. 11C, approval of amendment for interlocal agreement. I can still read. Texas Curriculum Management. Item 11D, approval of final payment to Earthworks Enterprise. And item 11E is approval of request for proposal for restaurants, food raising, rental, catering, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Mr. President, I move that we approve items 11A through E.
Second. It's been moved and seconded that we approve all items on tonight's consent agenda. Any comments or questions on any particular item?
Mr. Vela, I will be abstaining from the vote.
Let the record reflect that trustee Suarez will be abstaining from voting on the consent agenda items this evening. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Consent agenda items pass 6-0-1. Moving on to item number 12, instructional services. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. 12A1 is approval of request for proposal number 2017-170, district-wide school messaging system. The district solicited proposals for a district-wide school messaging system service to communicate pertinent information with community stakeholders regarding district updates and events. School messaging system is utilized at the campus and district level, and we are requesting action on this item.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve this item. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Trustee Farina.
How does this differ from Skyward, Remind, all the different tools that we have now that we're getting bombarded with?
Okay. The school messaging system is the system that we have been using for a number of years now. Thank you. It was originally purchased from state and federal programs, and so now, and it was mainly for parental involvement, and so now we use it district-wide to send messages out, both at the campus and district level, through Skyward, through the information that we have on Skyward. So the Remind 101 and all those additional apps, those are more campus-based, and different campuses use, whatever they prefer. but this is district-led and campus-led. So
So who would control this messaging system when it goes out?
right now it's being controlled of Community Information Systems.
Actually, it's controlled by Community Information, all the parental involvement office, and all campuses are able to send messages on School Messenger. And the reason, the way that it's different from Remind 101 is that it has the capability of being synchronized district-wide, which is what we're trying to ultimately get to the point of doing through our marquees and to all devices at the campuses, including televisions. The idea is we want to turn the safety foyers also into marketing foyers, and we'd like to put some smart TVs there. And it's also able to send the message to all devices at a campus, excluding everything except iPads. So it can send it to desktops, to laptops, to televisions. And so obviously it would be a very, the epitome of a good crisis communication system that we can go district-wide if we need to, or an entire campus if we need to, and we can isolate it that way from one point.
So from your vantage point, you can assume control of all the marquees and say, this is happening.
Ultimately, that's what we're wanting to do. At this point, I'm not able to. At this point, the campuses have their own system. They operate the School Messenger system on their campus. If I tried to go in there, I would be erasing what they've got. So what we're wanting to do, what we have discovered, this item really is because for the past 10 years, we've been using this software as our communication system. And after about 10 years, staff felt like it was time to go back and look again and review all the possible software that's out there. And in doing an extensive search and looking at all the options that were available, we decided that the committee chose School Messenger again. We found that it was the best solution. And we found in the process that there are more things that we can use if we first look at our present marquees to see if they can work. Our marquees can, School Messenger can be transmitted to any instrument that accepts RSS feeds. And our marquees, we're in the process right now, our IT department is doing an analysis of all the equipment to see what's needed. Is it possible to do this? And we are recognizing that at this point, there will have to be some upgrades to the marquees if we chose to do that. But we felt like it's an important thing to go look into it, see what the timeline would be and what the cost would be if we decide to do this.
So of our approximate 23,000 families that we have, or students, and if you take that by family, how many of the families are on the School Messenger system?
All families have the ability to be on it. They can opt out, yes.
They have the ability, but they can opt out. So in an emergency situation, they're not getting the notice.
Right.
Because
But they are on it, they're on automatically because their data comes in on Skyward. Remind 101, a person has to log in and sign up. In this way, we're able to say a full sweep of everybody that's on our system, on our Skyward, gets on. The other way with Remind 101, which is a viable solution also, a person has to go in there and actually try to get in or opt in rather than opt out.
What I'm looking for is an answer for the parents that are opting out. With School Messenger, we can allow them to opt out, but in case of an emergency, is there a way that our message will still get through to them because it's an emergency?
If they decide to opt out, we cannot.
One of the things, if I may, Mr. President, is the School Messenger is one vehicle that we use, but you're right, Trustee Farina, there's some that opt out, but we also try to use social media. We also send out email blasts. We also do every, if it's a big-time emergency, we'll call news, media outlets and things of that sort. So that's not the only vehicle that we use, but that's the primary one, but
And it's
that
a
is challenge.
combination. It's a combination of School Messenger and Remind 101.
I'm on both, and sometimes I just feel like chunking my phone out the window because I'm getting the message from here and the message from here, and there's another way to get the message, and it's, after a while, you're gonna have the parents that just go, take me off the system, and to me, if the school messenger contract is up and we need to renew, then let's do that. But is there a more concentrated effort so that we don't have to have 8 different platforms and we can just go off of one?
Yes, the ultimate plan would be to use School Messenger as only a crisis plan and Remind 101 as all other things. At this point, we're trying to use both, and yes, that is the negative thing, that some parents might feel that we're messaging too much. But right now, School Messenger is the only one where we say it's everybody that's on our system is in. And it's not excluding the parents that maybe don't know technology as well and maybe don't know to go get Remind 101, even though the campuses do push it a whole lot. And so we're just feeling like with crisis communications, you can't take the chance that they may not be signing up for Remind 101.
Thank you.
Trustee Suarez.
How's this being paid for?
It's
What
actually,
funds?
It's local funds.
Local funds. Norma, you would agree that one of the major reasons why we use this is for security purposes as well, to inform parents?
correct.
Okay. I'm gonna recommend to the administration that we look out, there's some grant money out there by Governor Abbott. He set aside millions of dollars for schools to apply to upgrade the security at their schools. I think this would fall under there. Especially if we're using it for that purposes, I really recommend that we go out and get some grant money to pay for things like this. I mean, it's money sitting out there. Even all the security upgrades that we've done could be paid for with funds that our governor has set aside, especially for schools down here in the south. So, just a recommendation.
Trustee Alicedo.
I think the difference is there's an emergency management and then there's the messaging system. I feel your pain because we get a million messages and they're not relevant to a crisis. And so I know like at the university level, when your children enroll and your parents you get an emergency management, if there's a crisis, if there's a shooter on campus, if there's something happening, you get a message for that, but you don't get all that stuff. It would be nice if maybe we could look at an emergency management system that is mandatory. If you are enrolled in this school district, you will be contacted, and then you can have a separate communication system, like something that's run through the police department and something that's run through the Office of Communications.
That is the target. That is what we're headed towards.
Thank you.
Just a quick clarification.
Yes, sir. Trustee.
Steve, on the contract, on the cover sheet, it says expenditures up to 120,000, but on the contract, I see it's 30,000 for 3 years, so it's 90,000. What are we actually approving? Because in the contract, it doesn't specify amount.
You should specify the amount in Exhibit B of the contract.
This is 120 for 3 years, so is it?
Right, because 30 times 3 is 90,000, so where's the additional?
Yeah.
Exhibit B specify the exact amount. Exhibit B of the contract.
It might be the insurance, or I was trying to figure out what.
Exhibit B is usually the cost broken up. I don't have that.
Yeah, I don't see it on here. I was just looking for it. Do you see it, Larry? Because on the bid, it says 30,000, and then I don't find anywhere else to see what exactly the total amount. And then on the cover sheet, you put up to 120,000, so I'm just trying to figure out what the additional is.
Because I'm online.
Oh, it's not a big deal. I mean, we can move on.
The, on Exhibit B, it states the fees are $30,318, and the term of the contract is
3 years.
3 years.
So it's 90,000. I just wanted to clarify that.
But you got a 30-day out clause.
Okay.
At any time,
So it's 90,000.
if you go for the full term.
Okay. Just on the cover sheet, it says up to 120,000.
Could
It's
the
paid
difference
out
be
of
the
CN.
optional bundle on page 355?
Well, the optional bundle,
That's 36,000
That's a
still,
one-year
still,
price.
yeah.
But if you look at the term of the contract, the term is for 3 years. So if you went through the whole term,
You don't really know.
And that price doesn't change year 2, year 3, right? I mean, it stays 30,000 for the
stays
next.
the same price.
Okay,
Thank you, board.
thank you.
Oh, Mr. President, I do have a perfect, thank you. Mine is, we were discussing this at the committee level. There are features that we haven't, that aren't even using with the current software that we have now.
Right.
Where's the administration on identifying what those features are, and can you elaborate as
The IT
what you're going to
department.
start to implement?
The IT department is assessing the difficulty is that the marquees, there's, I would say, 5 different kinds of marquees that we have, 5 different companies. And one of those companies supplied most of the marquees, but even at that level, there are 3 different sizes and 2 different color configurations. So it's kind of difficult, and that's what IT is working on right now, trying to figure out what is it that's needed for the equipment at the campuses to accept that feed from School Messenger. So that's what they're presently looking at, and their analysis is going to give us some indication about what the cost would be and what the timeline would be, and then that's when we would come back.
But there are other features that the system, as I understood it, allows, we just aren't using it.
No, that's primarily
It's only that
it.
one feature, that's it.
Well, I mean, they've got other features, like we are using it for notifying staff now. So that started last year or the year before. So we have added more uses from it. But the one that we're really wanting to look at right now is, imagine if there are parents outside a campus that's in a lockdown and we're able to put a message on the marquee that says, explains what's going on inside.
Okay.
That's what we're really wanting to get.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, board. It's been moved and seconded that we approve this item. All those in favor of the item signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Nay.
Motion carries 5-1. Thank you, board. Item 12B, Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. This is approval of a monetary donation from Office Depot to Dr. Pablo Perez Elementary. And this evening, we're pleased to recognize Office Depot for their donation to Dr. Pablo Perez Elementary School. And Mr. Trevino and Albert Islas, principal of Perez Elementary, will introduce our special guest from Office Depot. He's
Yes.
gone.
As of this afternoon, Mr. Al Alvarado was going to be unable to attend.
Okay.
And Mr. Islas had also some other place to be at after 7:30, so.
So wait till approve next time? Or you want to approve it now?
Yeah.
Okay, is there a motion to approve this?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we accept a monetary donation from Office Depot to Pablo Perez Elementary School. Any comments or questions?
Is this school supplies to be purchased from Office Depot? Is that what
These are surplus school supplies that Office Depot has to give to the school. So they will deliver this to the warehouse, and then warehouse will take it over to the campus.
All those in favor of the item signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Item 12C2, Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. In an effort to maintain the continued safety of students, the McAllen Independent School District provides transportation to students that would otherwise have to walk and navigate potentially hazardous areas to access their campus. And every year, the Transportation Department presents a listing of these affected areas to the board for approval. And Mr. Trevino and Mr. Jacob Martinez will now present this information, and we will be requesting action on this item.
For this item this year, there are no changes from the last year, and any of the routes that are listed on the list presented.
Move to approve.
Second.
Just quick question for you, and then I ask this just for every year. In case a parent has a concern about a thoroughfare, a street being dangerous, they can always reach out to you That's something y'all can walk them through if they feel that need. Because I know that happened a year or two ago, or it's been a while. Parent felt it was not on the list, then reached out to you, and then we amended it. And it's been, in the past.
Yes, of course. If there's any questions or concerns,
Awesome.
we're available.
Or Mr. Suarez can pick him up and take him to school.
It's been moved and seconded to approve this item. Is there any discussion on the item by the board?
No, sir.
Real quick. I didn't see Jacob here, but now that you are here, because I know we closed Novato. Are any of these routes, affecting Novato campus, or, because those Head Start kids that are there, do they take our buses?
No, they do not.
So are any of these routes or
The
streets?
neighborhoods are still feeding to other schools,
Oh.
so, the middle schools or the high school, and so they would be considered hazardous in order to access those campuses, so they are still included.
Actually, for the Novato campus, since there is no walking to Novato anymore, if they're going to the schools we selected, they're gonna be
Yes.
crossing this thoroughfare.
Correct.
Which qualifies them for a bus now.
Absolutely,
And that's
which
what
is
this
now
is all
Seguin.
about, is qualifying individuals for buses because they can no longer walk to school because they're unsafe roadways that have been identified.
Correct. These are areas that that we deem are unsafe and you approve to be included into the annual report.
Thank you.
Any further discussions or questions on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor of the item signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Moving on to item 12D, business operations. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. This is 12D1, approval of the 2018-142 telephone consultation agreement with Eichelbaum, Wardle, Hanson, Powell, and Mel. And the district utilizes these services for staff development on Title II, Title VI, Title IX, and open records request. And we are requesting action on this item.
What say you, board?
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded that we approve this item. Is there any comments or questions from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor of the item signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Item E on tonight's agenda, Board of Trustees items. Item number E1 is the approval of the Second Amendment to the superintendent's contract. As you all remember, we approved the evaluation of the superintendent 2 weeks ago at that board meeting. Since that time, we have drawn up, pursuant to our discussions within the board and with our board attorney, as well as Human Resources and Dr. Gonzalez, we have presented an amendment to the contract. Is there a motion at this point? Trustee Suarez.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the amendment that would outline the 2-year extension for Dr. Gonzalez.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the second amendment to the superintendent's contract with a 2-year extension to his contract. Are there any comments or questions on this item?
Clarification, when is the contract going to effect?
When he signs.
Technically, it went in effect when he first signed on as superintendent, but it will be effective as soon as we sign tomorrow morning. Is that correct?
Does it go retro to, because we've taken our time doing it, does
The
it?
compensation part goes,
We've addressed those items.
we
and
address those items.
Yes, and it's all as we addressed.
Was I asleep during that part? Because I don't remember what the answer was, but
Well,
I'll get
I
off
take it
with you
back.
offline.
If I may go back. During our discussions, during board discussions, we came up with,
Right.
subsequent to that discussion, in discussions with Mr. Crane and Human Resources and myself, we made those things happen.
Oh, so I
And that's
wasn't
what-
there. I was, okay.
You were not there.
Okay.
And so we made everything happen, and that's what we presented tonight with a 2-year extension.
Right, but my question, it doesn't go effective tonight. It goes effective, the pay goes back to, because there's a gap?
Starts tomorrow morning.
It starts tomorrow morning.
And
Well, is there
Dr.
any-
Gonzalez, pardon me, Dr. Gonzalez participated in that discussion as well as Human Resources with the school attorney
Okay.
and myself.
All right.
If we could go into closed session, I'd like to know that detail.
Okay.
And I know we can't do it in open. I think we have to discuss it in closed.
Okay. So we'll table this item until we come back from closed session.
If that's okay. I mean,
Yeah.
I think I'd like to know the answer.
Maybe I could save some time. Dr. Gonzalez understands how it works. I think it takes care of every concern, both you, Mr. Salazar, and both Mr. Alvarado raised. Dr. Gonzalez could state that also, and we may have to go to closed session.
Good question, but you're still
I still like going closed.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll table this item until we come back in open session after going into close. Item number E2 is approval of Board of Education meeting minutes. Dr. Gonzalez, administration asks the board to consider approval of the following attached minutes.
So moved.
Second,
Okay, I'm not gonna read them anyway.
items 2A, B, and C.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve meeting minutes for the aforementioned meetings. All those in favor of the item signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Item 13 on tonight's agenda is schedule of future meetings. A, November 12th, regular board meeting, 5 p.m. here in the boardroom.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
No, 13.
I'm sorry, but it says I'm absent. I wasn't absent, I just came in late. On page 399.
Oh, we approved it
If
already?
you're not in by third period, you're not counted.
But I only came in like 20 minutes late. I would hate for someone to look at that. Couldn't we, is there a way to amend it? Thank you very much.
Fix it.
It should be like school, if you're late a certain time, you're out.
Third period, if you're not there by third period, you're not there.
No, that's beside
Now, we're gonna have, do we have to rescind that motion?
You have to rescind that motion.
I move to rescind the motion.
Second.
Previous motion?
Okay.
I second it.
We're gonna vote on the rescinding of the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion has been, opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. We have rescinded the motion. I am open for,
I move that we approve the minutes with the amendment that Debbie Crowney said that was present.
that's correct.
Can you specify which meeting?
Page 399, the September 10 meeting.
Perfect.
Is there a second?
Can we
Second.
verify that, please?
Bring the video on that, please. We want to be sure she came in on time. All right. All those in favor of the item signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved 7-0. Schedule of future meetings, November 12th, regular board meeting here in the boardroom at 5 p.m. November 12th, special board meeting at 6:15 here in the boardroom. At this time, it is 9:21. We are going to recess into closed session. We can go into Dr. Gonzalez's office. I don't expect it'll take very long.
Okay.
So we'll be right back. 9:21, we are recessed. Ladies and gentlemen, we are reconvening our regular meeting, our 5 o'clock regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. It is 9:26. There is a motion on the floor that's been tabled and it's been seconded. We will take it off the table for comments or discussions at this point. Are there any comments or questions from the board?
I just think we should be clear on the amount of years it goes to. So the contract now, if the 2 years, it goes to year 2022, right?
I believe so, yes, because it goes back to the original day of the contract, and you just add on, because it is an amendment, it is not a restating of the original contract. Okay? Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of the item signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-2. Motion is approved. At this point, 9:26, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved to second that we adjourn the item, the agenda, the meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
We are adjourned.